channel.
Good morning. A tragic start to 2025 as a suspected terror attack strikes New Orleans.
Killing 15 people and injuring dozens who were simply there to celebrate the new year.
Well, the primary suspect is identified as US citizen and Army veteran Shamsuddin Jabbar, but the FBI says it's possible he wasn't acting alone.
Well, President Joe Biden has spoken overnight after Donald Trump blamed the attack on migration.
For hours before the attack, he posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill.
Law enforcement investigate whether the explosion of a cyber truck outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas could be linked to events in New Orleans.
After small boat migrant numbers rose by a quarter last year, the Home Office is cracking the whip as Labour attempts to make good on its promise to smash the gangs.
13,000 high street stores shut up shop last year. Could this finally jolt the government into saving the Great British High Street?
The Sussexes storm into 2025 as Meghan Markle announces her return to social media in a post that's confusing some people.
And in the sport this morning, Luke Littler eases into the semi-final of the World Darts Championship. Arsenal ease past Brentford, and in tennis, Katie Boulter avoids an uneasy match against her fiancé.
Hello, good morning. We've got some cold weather in store across the UK over the next few days. Most of us will see some sunshine at times, but equally there will be some frost, some ice and some snow to contend with as well. I'll have all the details later.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Happy New Year, we should say.
Happy New Year! Happy New Year!
May we all... Wait, is it? What? I know the next.
I don't know where we're going with that one. No.
Is that an ABBA song?
Yeah. Happy New Year.
Yes.
Because it talks about 1979 going into and in 10 years' time in '89, and that's.
Oh, I see.
Oh yeah, I've studied those lyrics.
I bet
Oh,
you
yes.
I bet
Very
you
good, very good.
I know you may be thinking you're a day late, but we weren't here yesterday.
Yeah,
so.
No, we weren't. No. Did you have a nice New Year, both of you?
Yes.
I find
it was all right.
I find Old Lang Syne a little bit sad.
Oh, it's very moving. This is what I was saying.
I find it
very moving. But in a good way.
Over.
Well, sort of like it's probably because it sums me up more that I think, oh, it's sad that it's the end of the year, instead of looking forward to the next year, which you should do. It's something about Old Lang Syne that I find.
It's the passing of time.
That's what it is.
Oh, so it gets more depressing the older you get.
And I've seen quite a few of them, Stephen.
I know.
And you had a murder mystery night?
We had Murder Mystery,
Did you?
which was really good.
I saw your pictures were like with the red... With the red hand.
Oh,
Is it good?
The bloodied hand on the wall.
Yeah, we got a kit separately, and so we had all, police tape everywhere and
Excellent.
bloodied hands on the wall. They were all just stickers, so you could peel them off again.
Oh, I was a bit concerned.
I did. I saw that and I thought...
About the clean-up?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was all right. But it was a really good night. It wasn't... You didn't play parts.
Oh.
You were all just... You got this thing, and it was just all the evidence, and then you just had to all sit round and work it out.
So you're like a table of detectives?
So who did it? Who did it?
It was the victim's father. Did it?
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, serial killer.
Wow.
But it was great. It was just like a really nice... Because you all get together and family and all the rest of it. And our nephew just ignored it all and watched his iPad. So it's only 5.
And how long did it take you to...
2 hours.
Oh, I see. So it's a good old game.
So is it like Cluedo, where you work it out and you go, oh, this is it, this is who we think it is, and then you open up and find out who it is?
You go online and...
And were you right? Did you know it's the victim's father?
We did. Got it right.
OK, fine. OK.
No, it's good. It's really good. It was nice to do something a little bit different. And then we finished, and then we had a bonfire.
And
then we saw the new year in.
That's nice.
And did Auld Lang Syne.
Lovely evening.
Yeah, very nice.
Very good.
How was yours? Did you remember much of it?
I don't really know.
What?
I drank a little bit too much champagne.
Before?
So I had a very sore head yesterday. Yes.
Well, that's all right. That's what it's all about.
That's what it's about, to be fair. It's New Year's Eve, yeah, so...
It's me.
Anyway,
and all I was doing was laying in a bed cuddling a dog who was shaking because of the
fireworks.
There we are.
Anyway, Happy New Year to you, and I hope your New Year starts a bit better than mine. 3 different
New Years.
Yeah, there you go. Well, look, sadly, in America, the New Year did not start very well. America's mourning 15 dead after a car rammed into New Year revellers in New Orleans.
The FBI has named the main suspect as US citizen Shamsuddin Bahar Jabbar, who previously served in the US Army.
They've also said an Islamic State flag was found in the vehicle and they're investigating it as an act of terrorism.
While President Biden addressed a press conference overnight.
The FBI has reported to me the killer was an American citizen, born in Texas. He served in the United States Army on active duty for many years. He also served in the Army Reserve until a few years ago. The FBI also reported to me that mere hours before the attack, he posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill, The ISIS flag was found in his vehicle, which he rented to conduct this attack.
Well, the incoming First Lady, Melania Trump, posted on X saying the incidents of violence that have impacted our communities are deeply concerning. The brutality must stop. My heartfelt thoughts and prayers with the families who are experiencing such profound grief and loss. Let us strive for a future where peace prevails.
Well, here in the UK, the Prime Minister has issued the following statement, saying the shockingly violent attack in New Orleans is horrific. My thoughts are with the victims, their families, the emergency responders and the people of the United States at this tragic time.
Well, meanwhile, in Las Vegas, one person died, 7 injured after a Tesla Cybertruck exploded as it was parked outside Trump Tower. Now, authorities are investigating whether the two incidents are linked.
Well, in response, the incoming President Trump of the US posted this on Truth Social, saying our country is a disaster, a laughingstock all over the world. This is what happens when you have open borders with weak, ineffective and virtually non-existent leadership.
He went on to say, only strength and powerful leadership will stop it. See you on January the 20th.
Well, joining us now from New Orleans is journalist at the New Orleans Advocate and friend to Donald Trump, Christine Frober. Good to see you this morning, Christine, but unfortunately we're discussing such horrific circumstances that took place in your home city.
Good morning. I am not friends with Donald Trump. I don't know where that came from. We are reeling in New Orleans from the events that happened today. People are still trying to adjust. I mean, it's quite a shock. We never really thought we were on the map for Europeans or Islamic regimes. Most people only know about New York and LA. We really thought we were safe, kind of a small town.
I mean, it's really hard to get a grasp of a tragedy like this, especially at a time when, of course, the people of the city were out celebrating.
Yes, I mean, the entire city, the surrounding communities for 2 states can drive in within 2 hours to New Orleans, and they all congregate in that exact 3-block area where the attack occurred. Thousands of people can be on those 3 small blocks. It's a very narrow, historic street. I was there. That is Canal Street you're showing right now, which is a major thoroughfare, which is off the street. I was there just 2 nights ago for dinner, exactly where the truck stopped and the assailant was shot. It's one of the most popular restaurants in the city. It's over 100 years old. Everyone's in shock at what happened.
Is it possible to assess what on earth is going on with the man behind this? I mean, we know he's a US citizen. We know he served in the armed forces. We know he was a realtor. Do we know what on earth has driven him to do this?
Well, I've been following the reports as much as they can be ascertained. They're saying that he was radically turned into an Islamic, somewhat fanatic, not normal Muslim, only in the last year and a half. And his relatives are saying they don't understand why it happened. And actually, we're in the dark right now. We know that there are 4 other people that worked with him planting IEDs in the French Quarter, some which have been detonated by our special police force that deal with such matters. And these 4 people are still on the loose. There's quite a manhunt going on.
And that's the concern, isn't it, that this man was not acting alone, that there could actually be a cell behind all of this?
It's extremely concerning, considering that in New Orleans for decades, as long as I've been alive, we celebrate a large football match, which is the college football match of the year, the finals, and it's called the Sugar Bowl, named after the fact that sugar production in New Orleans. And it was supposed to be today, and now it's going to be postponed until tomorrow. From what I've seen, there's a lot of bomb dogs everywhere. People are looking. They're trying to make the city safe. And the game's supposed to go through tomorrow.
It would be interesting to see if that does still continue. I know they'll be trying to do that. In the meantime, though, we've got this Tesla truck exploding, I mean, packed with firework detonators and fuel, we understand, parked outside Trump Tower in Las Vegas. Now, they're saying they don't know whether it's linked or not, but it's, I mean, certainly the timing is suspicious.
The only thing that I could find, that I could learn, that was a connection, which was actually posted by Mr. Elon Musk himself, and several other people have corroborated, but how can you know what's true at this point, is that there is an agency in the United States called Turu, which rents private citizens' cars, and both of the vehicles were rented through that really obscure agency that most people have never heard of. I had never heard of it. So it does seem like quite a coincidence that on the same time frame that happened, that occurred.
Yeah, and of course that's going to make up a significant part of the investigation to see if these 2 events are linked. In terms of what happened in New Orleans, part of that investigation is going to be the bollards, which were removed, weren't they, around this area in Bourbon Street. I mean, that would indicate that that's how the car managed to have the access that it did.
Sadly, the intersection to Bourbon Street, which is a very narrow historic street, it's several hundred years old, 300 years old. It's very narrow, but the main thoroughfare, the photo you just showed, was the street that the truck turned from onto Bourbon. It was blocked by 1 police squad car, a 4-door sedan, which did not cover the space. The truck easily turned right by it onto the street, began to accelerate and chasing people. I saw videos of 1 young girl only who escaped because she was so flexible and fast. At that point, the car appeared to be going over 40 miles an hour, and that's when it struck people over a 2-block course of Bourbon Street before it was stopped in front of the Royal Sonesta Hotel.
Can I ask what people are making of what Donald Trump has said? Because, I mean, he seems to be blaming this on immigration, doesn't he? And, which seems an odd thing to say when we now know this was a US citizen.
It would appear he misspoke earlier in the day. That's all we can assume. We don't know why that was said. It was around noon that they had an ID released by the FBI, and the mayor gave a press conference. No one knew who the person was or where they were from until we realized it was a man who lived in Beaumont, Texas. His family's house was actually stormed by a SWAT unit in Houston, Texas. Other than that, we really don't know much about him, except that he had a good reputation in the Army until he was discharged.
And you alluded earlier to the speed of what appears to have been his radicalisation. As you say, he served in the US Army, converted to being a Muslim in the last 18 months or so, it appears. So there are questions now, aren't there, about how, where and why he was radicalised in the US as a US citizen who once fought for his country.
It is a mystery. I saw a statement from his mosque in Texas, and they denied all knowledge of it and gave their thoughts and prayers and such as to the victims, seemed to support the victims and had kind words for New Orleans, but we really just don't know anything. New Orleans is pretty far away from Texas. I mean, it's almost a different world, it actually is.
OK, Christine, look, we appreciate your time on what has been an absolutely tragic day for the city. Thank you very much indeed. It's just so hard to get your head around why someone would do this, and especially someone, say, who's served in the military.
Yeah.
And actually, there's some videos, and GB News got hold of a video of him talking, because he was a realtor, an estate agent in the latter part of his life, and he was putting something out on social media, you know, trying to get customers in. He just seems like a perfectly normal, average man, you know, a good estate agent. It's really very odd.
Just absolutely horrific, isn't it? And this area is a well-known party street full of bars, full of restaurants. And it happened in the early hours of the morning when obviously people were spilling out of those clubs and restaurants. They'd been bringing in the new year, simply just trying to go home after their celebrations. And this has happened. I mean, it's absolutely horrific. Yeah,
well, we're going to be looking into this in a lot more detail as much as we can coming up. But in the meantime, let's have a look at the weather for you.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. The next few days are looking pretty chilly across the UK. There'll be some sunshine around, but equally some wintry hazards to contend with as well. Low pressure is now starting to pull away from the east of the UK, and that's allowing that northerly airstream to become established. So as we go through the day today, plenty of sunshine, certainly for inland areas, but showers also moving down in that north to northwesterly breeze, particularly across northern Scotland into parts of Northern Ireland, a few in through the Irish Sea and down some eastern coasts of England as well. So the best of the sunshine into the afternoon, say, reserved for those central and southern spots across inland areas, but notice wherever you are, despite the sunshine, it's going to be pretty chilly. Temperatures no higher than 6 or 7 Celsius, that's the low 40s in Fahrenheit. As we go through the evening then into the overnight period, we hold on to further showers moving in there across the north of Scotland. So to end the day on Thursday, there will be more showers to contend with across the north and northwest of Scotland there. Southern parts of Scotland mostly fine, but turning very chilly, a frost reforming quite quickly here. A few showers into parts of Northern Ireland, but again, southern parts of the province escaping those and turning quite frosty. And turning frosty with some icy patches in places too across parts of England and Wales. Showers mainly again reserved for western areas and down the North Sea coasts. As we go into the overnight period, the showers will tend to become more widespread from the north and northwest, particularly across the north of the UK. Plenty of the sleet and snow showers pushing their way in across Scotland, into Northern Ireland, eventually parts of northern England. Elsewhere, the blue colours indicating a widespread frost, and icy patches are possible pretty much across the UK. Temperatures plummeting below freezing, certainly in towns and cities, and much lower than that in some rural spots as well. As for Friday, well, it's a day of sunshine and showers. The showers, once again, wintry in nature, a mixture of sleet and snow in places, and becoming fairly widespread, particularly towards the north and northwest, with southern and southeastern parts of the UK, again, seeing the best of the lingering sunshine. Wherever you are, it's pretty chilly, temperatures no better than mid-single figures, and feeling colder out and about, particularly in that north to northwesterly breeze. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye for now.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now do stay with us. Still to come, new laws to crack down on people smugglers. That's next.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Joining me now is food historian and author of Christmas with Dickens, Pen Vogler. Pen, let's start with Christmas Carol. Did A Christmas Carol change Britain's view of Christmas?
I think it did, enormously. Before then, people were beginning to think, as they do now, that Christmas might be being a little bit commercial. It was too much food and drink, not enough kind of seriousness or not enough kind of love and family. And What Dickens did with A Christmas Carol was show people who were coming to the cities, who were kind of losing their rural history, a new way of celebrating Christmas that a real, just a family could get together and love and kind of get around the table together. And whereas before, a lot of those kind of Christmas dishes would have been seasonal, lots of people would have eaten them at different times of the year, Dickens does two things. He takes the goose, which is what the Cratchits are going to eat, and he turns it to a turkey, much bigger, meatier, kind of more generous. And then he takes this thing that he never calls Christmas pudding in A Christmas Carol. There's no Christmas pudding. He only calls it plum pudding, and he anchors it to that day. And interestingly, after then, people start publishing recipes for Christmas pudding, and it starts getting its name, Christmas pudding, from plum pudding. And I think all of that really comes from A Christmas Carol.
You say becomes a Christmas pudding almost immediately after A Christmas Carol is published?
Yes, I mean, it's occasionally called Christmas pudding before, but not often. And then a very famous for the time, the kind of Delia Smith of her day, lady called Eliza Acton, publishes a recipe called The Author's Christmas Pudding in 1845. And we know she's a big Dickens fan because she sent a copy of her cookbook to him.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is the nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them. They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Thank you, Britain.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for subscribing.
Thank you for your support.
It's you that make us the People's Channel.
As we reflect on our journey so far, we're filled with immense gratitude.
You mean the world to us. We couldn't have reached this point without you.
As a very special thank you, we are giving you the chance to win one of 50 GB News thank you boxes. They're worth £50 each.
For full terms and conditions, and to enter, just go to gbnews.com/thank you.
At 6:21, suspected people smugglers are set to face travel bans, social media blackouts and restrictions on phone usage under new laws aiming to dismantle organised immigration crime networks.
Well, the number of migrants arriving to the UK in small boats is up a quarter, as nearly 37,000 people made the journey last year.
Well, let's talk to political commentator Theo Usherwood, who joins us now. Good to see you.
Very good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I mean, the figures are terrible.
Yes.
On terms of illegal immigration. What do we make of what the government says, the Home Secretary says she's going to bring in to try and stop this?
So, as you say, the figures are terrible. 36,000, more, it's actually closer to 37,000. That's up 25% on last year, and the second highest year on record in terms of the number of migrants crossing the English Channel. And this is part of the government's widespread effort to crack down, or as Keir Starmer says, smash the gangs that are behind this organised effort to allow people to cross the channel. And so what they're going to do, and this is part of legislation to come forward, which is going to come forward later in the month, they're going to bring in measures which will allow serious crime prevention orders. They already exist, by the way, but they exist at the end of the criminal justice process when people who have been convicted. What they're going to do, what the government's going to do, is allow them to be applied in the first instance when the authorities have suspects in mind who are committing these crimes, so they can try and deal with them at source rather than having to go through the entirety of the criminal justice process to be able to apply the orders. As you say, there's going to be measures which can bring in social media bans, internet bans, try and stop their communication, and travel bans as well. Two problems with this. The first is that many of these gangs exist outside of the UK. Yes, they do have people who are working on their behalf in the UK, but the real crime gang is actually operating right across Europe and going into the countries where where migrants are travelling from. The second issue, and this has been highlighted by the likes of the Conservative MP David Davis, who's been a long-standing campaigner when it comes to civil liberties, is actually there's a reason why these orders are usually applied at the criminal justice process, because we have the right to be proven, guilty. We're innocent until we're proven guilty. And as he said, this is a sledgehammer to crack a nut. It's not necessary to bring in these orders, and they could be misapplied to people who actually found later to be innocent or actually are not involved in these gangs, because the authorities say, well, you're involved and therefore we're going to introduce these restrictions.
I mean, the Tories have responded to these plans already. They've said that the Labour Party have cancelled the only deterrent that was available to them. They call it a catastrophic mistake.
Yes, and Chris Philp, who is, of course, the Shadow Home Secretary, has made the point that actually when in opposition, Labour voted against legislation which the Tories brought in, which would have, in effect, introduced life sentences for the people smugglers themselves, and said, accused Keir Starmer of having the cheek to now try and introduce just as tough legislation to to deal with these gangs. Will this particular change make a huge difference? I suspect not. These organised criminals are incredibly wily and astute at trying to avoid whatever measures are brought in. And as Chris Philp mentioned, there is there was a deterrent there with the Rwanda scheme. The government scrapped that on something like day 2 or day 3. Keir Starmer said, no, this is something we're not prepared to do. He didn't have the support within his own party to press ahead with it. But then there is a legitimate argument from Keir Starmer's side and from those opponents of the Rwanda scheme that unless you are prepared to leave the ECHR, ultimately it was, and this is accepted by Robert Jenrick, for instance, unless you're prepared to leave the ECHR, the Rwanda scheme was fruitless because you were never actually going to get a plane with migrants who'd come into this country illegally to fly to Rwanda to deport them to Rwanda. It wasn't possible for it to happen.
No, well, and that's the government's position, and so as a result they have to bring in something different, and Smash the Gangs was talked about long before the election. Am I missing a trick here?
No.
Because
no, you're not. It's really
because if you're going to ban internet access and some phone usage and social media accounts, well, you can go into a shop and buy a phone and set up a new media account and
if you're in Turkey and you're operating from Turkey, they can't touch you. And what they're doing and what the government's doing, and I think this will, become apparent, is they're tinkering around the edges. I mean, they've done a deal recently with Germany, where it was actually possible for you to, within the confines of the German law, to facilitate people smuggling, as long as it was to a third country outside of the European Union. The government's managed to successfully persuade the Germans to change the law so that ultimately you can be now, if you in Germany and you are facilitating people smuggling, you can be now prosecuted. But they're tinkering around the edges with small measures here and there. And ultimately, if you're talking about if the British public and voters turn around and say they want an effective deterrent, ultimately a scheme like Rwanda is, and this isn't my opinion, by the way, this is the experts, people like Tony Smith, the former, who worked for border control. These are the people who've worked on the front line in Calais and Dunkirk and the likes. You need an effective deterrent. But at the moment, the Prime Minister is of the view, and Labour government is of the view, that we remain signatories to things like the ECHR. The one thing that might change is that this is a problem that isn't just affecting Britain. And actually, we might see governments, particularly looking at elections in Germany and in France, where actually you have incoming governments who recognise the problem, and actually they recognise the ECHR needs to change and reform. And if you see a concerted effort by the likes of Germany, France, Britain, saying we need to change the law, change the ECHR so that actually we can stop these migrant crossings, or migrant transitions into countries, then actually I think that would be much more effective than just Britain saying, hang on, we want some changes.
OK. Theo, good to see you this morning. We'll see you a little bit later on. Thank you.
Very much. Now, if you didn't get everything on your Christmas list, well, last year now.
Last year.
Christmas was last year. How about £50,000 in tax-free cash this new year?
Well, it could all be yours in our biggest ever Great British giveaway. Here's how you enter.
There's still plenty of time to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize ever, an incredible £50,000. What would you spend £50,000 on in the coming year? Spectacular holidays, a brand new car, home improvements, or maybe you'd just like to save it for a special occasion? For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, best of luck to you on that one. Still to come, we're going to take you through all the sport with Paul. That's next.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. Train services in Scotland are suspended between Inverness and Wick, Thurso and Perth because of poor weather. Also suspended between Mallig and Oban. In Murray, the A939 is closed each way in the Cairngorms between Cockbridge and Tomintoul because of snow. In Tyne and Wear, the A189 is closed each way off the A190 between Dudley and Westmore because of a burst water main. In North Yorkshire, the A59 is closed each way at Blubberhouses because of a landslip. On the M62 in West Yorkshire, there's a lane closed on the westbound entry slip road at junction 24 at Ainley Top because of flooding. A number of road closures remain in place across parts of the northwest of England because of flooding. The port of Holyhead remains closed for emergency repairs, with sailing still suspended between Holyhead and Dublin, and train services are suspended between Llandudno Junction and Blaenau Festiniog because of a fallen tree on the line.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Well, it's interesting because I haven't actually been told specifically what I've done, which has resulted in me being removed from my committee position, which was head of daytime. I started a podcast in September in which I interviewed Charlie Bentley-Astor, who's a detransitioner. I then also interviewed Graham Linehan, and I wrote an article for his Substack. And shortly after that, I was told that I had been suspended, and the university union started an investigation into me. And that very quickly became apparent to me that it was an interrogation of my gender-critical views rather than any sort of misconduct that I had been alleged to.
Right. And Graham Linehan has been outspoken on issues relating to transgender ism, whatever you want to call it, gender ideology. And so perhaps just by having associated yourself with him as a controversial figure, that was why the investigation happened, you suspect?
Yes, and already it's quite clear that guilt by association is a crime that you can commit within university societies. I actually purchased my free speech union membership way before this all happened, when a friend helped me edit the episode with Charlie, and he got in trouble with a separate society who told him that he must disassociate himself from me, and if he didn't, further measures would be taken. So at that point, I thought, wow, I better put some damage control in place and purchase my membership in case anything happens to me.
So this decision is made by the student union, right? Is that made up of fellow students? Or who's making this call?
Well, that's actually part of my appeal. So the process has been completely improper. They haven't followed their own guidelines. There are two different guidelines as to whether a complaint is dealt with the society itself, so Leeds Student Radio, or the union, and it's basically been a mishmash of both. So it's been an improper procedure, but it is, as far as I'm aware, it's the student union who's decided to remove me.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Right, let's have a look at the sport with Paul. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I'm loving the darts.
Are
you into the darts?
I tell you what I'm enjoying is the fact, because you're always a bit worried. Luke Littler was such a sensation.
Yes.
That you think, can he actually pull it off next time round?
Right.
But he's easing into the... What's he, semi-finals he's through to?
Semi-final through to now. Well, here's one that, I shouldn't really say, but do you find this... You find that maybe you don't want him to win?
No.
He's 17 years old, the world at his feet. I mean, the kid is unbelievable. There he is. He won his quarter-final yesterday against Nathan Aspinall 5-2. He's had a little bit of trouble hitting the doubles, but on the whole, I think that is the 2025 world champion. Even going into that, I mean, he's fourth seeded, but I think everybody thinks he's the one that's going to win. It's just like no darts player I've ever seen. He's just so good. And when you mention at 17, you think, you know, is there going to be a point where there might be a little wobble because there were tears when he played just before Christmas and it didn't go? And you think, well, maybe, because surely no, even if you're 17, even if you're like this amazing darts player, whatever, surely still some way it's going to affect you. But no, it's incredible. And I think he will win. I think he will win.
Yeah. But I like him because seems like in the interviews he comes across as a really nice lad.
He just keeps it real, doesn't he?
He does. I mean, did you see him? He was in the Christmas edition of Bullseye, but he's not. I mean, let's face it, he's not Mr. Personality. I don't want to see. I don't expect to see that.
No.
He's a darts player, but he comes over very nice. And he does his job and he does it brilliantly.
Yeah.
And
what more can you ask for?
The world is his oyster.
Yeah,
His darts oyster. So I think he'll win. There were quarterfinals yesterday. See, the thing is, I find that I'm just sit there and then I watch the darts and then I get really excited by it.
Yeah,
Stephen Fry said that. It's his most favourite sport.
Really?
You know, yeah, president of the MCC, loves his cricket, but darts, if you just sit there, and I've said that to the families, just sit and watch it. And the
crowds are so engaging as well, I think. I watch the crowds.
Yeah.
The outfits.
It's just great. And the thing is, they also sold out last summer. And the tickets for the World Championship. So if you want to go next year, because everybody's going, I want to go, you have to keep your eyes on the tickets because there's a ballot and then it goes.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly.
Brilliant.
So Chris Dobie beat Gerwyn Price of Wales, who the crowd always hate, and I know Gerwyn Price, and he hates that. He's always seen as the pantomime villain and plays up to it, and they always boo him, and he pretends, there we are, there's the hug after the game. And he always plays up to it, but he hates it when the crowd boo him.
Oh, that's quite mean.
I know, and it's like, Gerwyn's all right, former world champion. So Chris Dobie, who's it's from the North East, so he won 5-3, he was 2-0 up, then it went to 2-2 and came back. Michael van Gerwen.
Oh, yeah, nice, big name.
Big Michael van Gerwen. Beat unseeded Callum Ridds. And Callum Ridds has been also a revelation. So there we are. There's the green machine there, Michael van Gerwen. Stephen Bunting beat Peter Wright, Snakebite Wright, beat him 5-2. He's the one with the Mohican. Familiar with him with the Mohican? There we are. Look there at that. See, there's Peter Wright there, who has been brilliant, and there's Stephen Bunting, who's from Liverpool. His son, by the way, looks just like him. He's got a son. You see him. I don't know whether they call him Baby Bunting. Maybe they should call him Baby Bunting.
Maybe they should.
I don't know whether that's just our thing. But anyway, he stands there and he says that Peter Wright is his favourite player, and that's what Stephen Bunting said in the interview afterwards. And Luke Little won. So tonight, Chris Dobie versus MVG, Michael van Gerwen, and Luke Littler will play Stephen Bunting in the semi-finals.
Brilliant. Oh, I'm keeping fingers crossed. Should
we have a look at the Premier League?
Oh, yes. Yeah, your favourite team won.
Arsenal won. So on we go with more other sport. So Arsenal was 6 points off Liverpool. And Nottingham Forest, who are also they're 2 points behind, so they're doing really well. So I know you have fondness for Nottingham Forest, don't you?
I do.
You do.
I do.
So Gabriel Jesus and Mikel Merino and Gabriel Martinelli all scored for Arsenal. They were 1-0 down against Brentford, and Brentford have been really good at home. And the real revelation is this 17-year-old Ethan Nwaneri, and there he is, 17 years old. So he's got the boots to fill of Bukayo Saka, and he is doing it more than brilliantly. And at 17, homegrown talent as well, which is always good to see. So he's doing very well for Arsenal. So Arsenal pushing Liverpool at the top of the Premier League. So they are looking very good again.
Oh,
there you go. That was that. I did that quite
very
nicely,
good.
didn't I?
Yeah, very well.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, fingers crossed throughout the whole thing.
Should we have a look at some tennis?
Yeah, shall we?
Yeah, because I'm fascinated by this. Katie Bolter.
Yeah.
And her fiancé.
Yeah, her fiancé, who is Alex de Minaur. And he plays for Australia. She plays for Britain. So they're playing in a competition. I think we've got some action from the competition. I think we haven't seen a bit of Katie Bolter. GB versus Australia. This is in Sydney. It's the international competition. She was saying she was losing sleep, wondering how it's going to go.
Yeah.
She won her match. Alex won his match. It would have been nice if they played against each other in the next round.
Yeah. There you go.
It's just another international tennis cup.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's just
another one.
It's just another competition.
What would
it
you do
means
without?
nothing.
Oh, get
Crying
over
out
it.
loud. Who cares?
You wouldn't say that if you were winning it.
No, absolutely. No,
all right.
we wish them well today.
Paul, thank you. We'll see you
Thanks,
later on.
Coity.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Do stay with us. Still to come, find out what's making the news this morning with Charlie Rowley and Andy Williams. But first, in your in search of some winter sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, here's your latest winter sun forecast for GB News. Over the next few days, things will be turning more unsettled across southern parts of Europe. We'll see a few showers across the Canary Islands and Madeira on Friday, some sunshine too. Sunshine for southern parts of Spain, rain further north, and as we head into central and southeastern parts of Europe, much more in the way of unsettled weather here. Plenty of rain around, some snow on the hills, and temperatures will be struggling in places too. As for the next few days into the weekend and the start of next week, we hold on to that mixed theme, plenty of sunshine but further showers at times as well.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Right, that's where you can head if you fancy a bit of different weather. Anyway, we're going to have the papers for you in just a moment.
Thank you, Britain.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for subscribing.
Thank you for your support.
It's you that make us the People's Channel.
As we reflect on our journey so far, we're filled with immense gratitude.
You mean the world to us. We couldn't have reached this point without you.
As a very special thank you, we are giving you the chance to win one of 50 GB News thank you boxes. They're worth £50 each.
For full terms and conditions, and to enter, just go to gbnews.com/thank you.
I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Lee Anderson's Real World, Fridays from 7 p.m.
So, how did you get into radio initially?
It's the old thing. You do discos.
Yeah.
Back in the days when you used to put needles on.
What sort of year we're talking about?
Oh, it was black and white.
Okay.
That's as close as you're going to get.
Beatles, Rolling Stones?
Yeah. Sort of later. Sort of a bit later than that, doing discos. But then you sort of do a tape. I did a tape for BBC Radio Manchester, the local BBC station. And just one off, got a copy of that, edit. Yeah. Naively thought, everybody's going to send a tape to Piccadilly, which was the Manchester station, which was 73. And instead of that, a couple of years later, I sent a tape to Radio City in Liverpool, not thinking that everybody in Liverpool's going to be sending a tape there. And just a guy just went, I'm too good for this, doing the overnights, walked out, and my tape was on the top of the pile. And I got a phone call on a Thursday night, Thursday, the 12th of February, 76. Can you do 2 till 6 in the morning on Radio City in Liverpool? I thought it was one of my pals.
And what was you talking about on that radio show?
It was an overnight programme, so it's music.
Yeah.
In those days, you didn't have much needle time, but clever devil here noticed that the BBC stuff was not needle time.
Yeah.
So I used to put like the Goons on and the Hancocks. So you've got half an hour, and me and the security guy, Bert, on the door. We're the only two in the building. Yeah. I used to get in my car, put the Goons on, get in my car, dash down to the pier head, get a bacon butty, listening to it all the time, hoping that the record's not stuck, and then dashing back.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
It's 6:43 now. You know we love to know what you think. So here's our poll of the day today. And we're reporting today that 13,000 high street stores shut up shop last year. So do the government need to do more to save the British high street? We'll bring the results throughout the day. And we'll have the final results in Martin's show later. If you want to take part, go to gbnews.com/poll.
Now, we're going through the papers with former Special Advisor to Michael Gove, Charlie Rowley, and political commentator Andy Williams. Good morning, you two.
Good morning.
And
Morning.
Andy, let's start with this horrific attack, shall we, in New Orleans?
Yeah, so obviously what we're seeing is that the suspect or the killer, the person who drove this car into a crowd just after midnight on New Year's Day, had an ISIS flag attached to his truck. I mean, look, horrific incident, obviously. What it shows is that the US and the West have been saying for years that Islamic State had been crushed and was finished, but what you can't kill is the ideology that lives on for so many people. And actually, from all of the information we have so far, and obviously it's early days, it seems that this person actually led a pretty normal life. He was in the US Army for 9 years, served in Afghanistan. You know, he was married and seemed to sort of be radicalised in the final years of his life and commit this horrific atrocity.
I mean, it's terrifying. And in the midst of all of this, Charlie, we've got the Tesla truck attack as well in Vegas, I think it was, wasn't it? Actually, Philip got in touch and said, why do you keep saying it's a Tesla truck? Why does that matter? Well, I think it matters, doesn't it? Because if it's an attack outside Trump Towers in a Elon Musk truck, so it's someone trying to make a political statement, isn't it?
Yeah, cynical, targeted, calculated in all of those ways, in just the same way this truck driver targeted a particular street where it's very, very busy, the French Quarter, well-known party area. People just wanting to celebrate New Year, turn the page. Everybody has New Year's resolutions, but just celebrate seeing a new year, coming out of bars and clubs, having a good time to have their lives and their futures ripped away from them. But Andy's right, it is an ideology. You know, we can often get caught up in the past, or the idea that maybe people are coming into the country with these views that are coming from elsewhere. Well, I'm afraid to say we often forget these people live amongst us. You know, they might be born in the UK, they're born in the US, they are US citizens or British citizens.
That's a really important point here. Is this man was born in the United States, so I think people are already making noises about immigration. Well, it's actually nothing to do with that in this case, and in lots of these cases.
Well, I mean, it's
an brilliant ideology, but it goes against obviously the culture of the US and the Western values, and that's where the argument lies. But you know. What do you do with someone that's a homebred terrorist?
I mean, and the concern here has got to be, what do we need to look out for here? Because if they're attacking the United States, even with homegrown terrorists, then it raises concern for particularly countries like the UK.
Absolutely, and with Germany as well, just before Christmas, with the Christmas market attacks. And this particular method of terrorism, driving vehicles into large crowds, seems to be increasingly common. So, really, really concerning.
Yeah, and it's difficult because how do you police that if somebody is using a vehicle as a weapon? How can you do anything about it? It's a difficult question, isn't it?
Right, should we have a look at the sun, Charlie? So much for a dry January, it says, because, I mean, the weather has been terrible, and for some people, actually, and particularly in the northwest, the flooding's been horrific.
Yeah, it's been terrible, and go on any online news outlet or just turn on your television screens and you'll see the amount of flooding that's taken place. I think it's been about 12 inches in about 48 hours, or the equivalent of a month's rainfall within the space of 2 days, I think that equates to. Where you're seeing cars swept away down the streets, you're seeing, the now potential threat, obviously, as a cold snap comes, where it's supposed to be under some sort of deluge of a New Year's frost, where schools will be closed, where the railways won't work, where traffic jams will be no end of sight. So there'll be travel chaos to come, economic sort of chaos probably, because shops won't be able to open, we won't be able to function in the way in which we normally would. It's not going to be a happy New Year, to put it lightly.
No, it's not. It's horrific.
And, particularly on the back of, as we were talking about in the US, when people look to the New Year, they want a fresh start, they want to the hope and optimism of a New Year message, and everything seems to be not going according to plan.
We were all set to go out for a long New Year's Day walk yesterday, and at about 1 o'clock, opened the front door, and all this wind sort of gushed straight through the house.
It was a duvet day kind of day, wasn't it, yesterday? Very much so.
Spent most of it in bed.
Andy, let's have a look at the Telegraph, shall we? Actually, many of the papers covering this today. NHS obesity treatment has quadrupled in a decade.
Yeah, and I think we have to ask what's going on here. You know, are we getting fatter as a society? How are we treating this? I think it's more complicated than just people being, you know, some of the narrative would say it's just people being irresponsible, and there must be some of that, but I think it's a more complicated question. The thing that caught my eye is that 14,000 children were treated for obesity on the NHS in the last 10 years. I mean, that seems to be a huge and a really worrying number.
Do we know what they mean by treatment? Are they talking bariatric surgery or...?
I think it's a range of treatment, but I know that there's a big debate at the moment about the extent to which we should be using or offering people weight loss jabs to sort of overcome obesity-related illnesses. And I know the vast majority of people who are looking for that treatment are going to be denied it because the NHS is looking to divert resources elsewhere. So there are about 300,000 people who are on waiting lists at the moment for obesity-related treatment, and less than 10% of those are going to be offered weight loss jabs. So we obviously need to look at a whole range of treatment. But apart from the fact that this causes misery for individuals and for families, there's also massive cost to the economy. NICE estimates that £100 billion a year is the cost to the economy of obesity-related illnesses. So, yeah, really pervasive and huge numbers over the last 10 years.
Gosh.
We've got to do something about them. I mean, we've got to start cracking down on this at source. We can't treat people... Well, we can, but we don't want to be treating people for obesity. We want to stop them getting obese in the first place.
Well, that's right, and I think, there's got to be questions asked about the current approach because, for over that decade of time, and I think that is the most shocking statistic that, Andy was talking about, is that young people and the amount of kids that are being treated for obesity. But we've had, over a decade, probably about 20, 30 years of breakfast clubs in schools, for people and parents that might not be able to, for whatever reason, don't have a balanced diet or their kids go to school. I mean, obviously, kids going to school hungry is obviously not what anybody wants. Therefore, breakfast clubs are there. But the whole shift in the school lunch and dinner programme. I mean, Jamie Oliver coming in to do that campaign that he did all those years ago about the turkey twizzlers, healthy eating in schools. All of that should have changed the way in which we approach. But we still have too many kids who are clearly obese. And you've got to ask yourself, is it the fault of the schools? I don't think so. I think they've got enough pressure on. Is it down to parents? Is it down to the cost of living? Is it parents that still, in this day and age, I know there's been criticism about it before, parents are not able necessarily to cook healthy meals.
I think that's the issue. I think generationally we're losing it.
Yes.
And we lost it a couple of generations ago, the ability just to make anything from anything.
Yes.
And we've hit a point now where there's a generation of parents who just don't know how to do it.
Yes, yeah, and it's not about attacking those, it's about making sure that they're part of the solution. Because otherwise you're going to end up with your kid in the NHS on a jab that we don't really know the health benefits of or the long-term impacts of, a jab that isn't prescribed on the NHS for the majority of people unless you're really sort of clinically
do they even do home economics at school anymore? I don't know. Do you?
I haven't been at school for a while, unfortunately.
You're far younger than I am, but you might have more of an idea.
We did it for a couple of years at school.
Yeah, we did.
Until about year 9.
Yeah.
But you just can't imagine that it's difficult, is it, to learn how to poach an egg, it's boiling water, and you drop an egg in, or porridge in the morning. I mean, those are cheap, easy things that shouldn't be difficult for...
No, but the problem is people buy porridge that's pre-packaged and you just need to add water. And that's full of sweet things. That makes it not very good for you.
I mean, Charlie mentioned the cost of living, and I don't think that's entirely the whole explanation, but it must be part of it, that it's cheaper and easier to buy food that has a load of rubbish in it from from the supermarket, and we need to be encouraging people to
cook from scratch.
And it's only going to get worse, I think, because the amount of parents that you see, and again, not attacking parents, but kids today. I mean, I sound like someone sort of 40 years ago. Your kid should be outside playing sports or doing something like that. But the amount of parents that you just see, passing a tablet or
that's a big part of it. That's a big
they're not
part of it.
being they're not using their energy in a positive way. They're not doing exercise. They're not doing sports. I mean, I know Gen Z, they drink less and they don't go out so much and all the rest. OK, so that's a health benefit we hear, but
they're sat on their tablets or their laptops.
Well, maybe we should attack parents. Maybe you should actually draw the line and say these parents aren't doing a good enough job, and they expect schools to, in effect, raise their children.
Yeah, I think I'm sure there are parents out there who are sort of not really thinking about it, maybe being a bit lazy, just feeding their kids whatever's the easiest, and we're not getting good outcomes.
All right, let's just finish off, should we? We've got 45 seconds to talk about the Sussexes, Charlie.
Thank God. Because there's not very much to say, is there?
But they're rebranding again.
Meghan. Who cares? Who cares, honestly? I mean, I think the report said that you can earn... Meghan, who's reignited or reinstated an Instagram account or got a new one, she can earn, I think, about 790 million or something per post? Oh, that's a bit too much, probably, per post. 790,000, I think, probably, per post.
So she wants to be a full-time influencer, is that what we read into this?
I mean, I can't be bothered, honestly. Who cares? Who cares?
I think you've got a point. Thank you both very much indeed. We'll see you later. Here's the weather with Marco.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. The next few days are looking pretty chilly across the UK. There'll be some sunshine around, but equally some wintry hazards to contend with as well. Low pressure is now starting to pull away from the east of the UK, and that's allowing that northerly airstream to become established. So as we go through the day today, plenty of sunshine, certainly for inland areas, but showers also moving down in that north to northwesterly breeze, particularly across northern Scotland into parts of Northern Ireland, a few in through the Irish Sea and down some eastern coasts of England as well. So the best of the sunshine into the afternoon, reserved for those central and southern spots across inland areas, but notice wherever you are, despite the sunshine, it's going to be pretty chilly. Temperatures no higher than 6 or 7 Celsius, that's the low 40s in Fahrenheit. As we go through the evening then into the overnight period, we hold on to further showers moving in there across the north of Scotland. So to end the day on Thursday, there will be more showers to contend with across the north and northwest of Scotland there. Southern parts of Scotland mostly fine, but turning very chilly, a frost reforming quite quickly here. A few showers into parts of Northern Ireland, but again, southern parts of the province escaping those and turning quite frosty. And turning frosty with some icy patches in places too across parts of England and Wales. Showers mainly, again, reserved for western areas and down the North Sea coasts. As we go into the overnight period, the showers will tend to become more widespread from the north and northwest, particularly across the north of the UK. Plenty of the sleet and snow showers pushing their way in across Scotland, into Northern Ireland, eventually parts of northern England. Elsewhere, the blue colours indicating a widespread frost, and icy patches are possible pretty much across the UK. Temperatures plummeting below freezing, certainly in towns and cities, and much lower than that in several spots as well. As for Friday, well, it's a day of sunshine and showers. The showers, once again, wintry in nature, a mixture of sleet and snow in places, and becoming fairly widespread, particularly towards the north and northwest, with southern and southeastern parts of the UK, again, seeing the best of the lingering sunshine. Wherever you are, it's pretty chilly, temperatures no better than mid-single figures, and feeling colder out and about, particularly in that north to northwesterly breeze. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye for now.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. Train services in Scotland are suspended between Inverness and Wick, Thurso and Perth, and also between Manig and Oban because of poor weather conditions. In Murray, the A939 is closed each way in the Cairngorms between Cockbridge and Tomintoul because of snow. In Tyne and Wear, the A189 is closed between Dudley and Westmore because of a burst water main. In North Yorkshire, the A59 remains closed at Blubberhouses because of a landslip. A number of roads remain closed across mostly the northwest of England because of flooding, though on the M62 in West Yorkshire, there's a lane closed because of flooding on the westbound entry slip road at junction 24 at Ainley Top. The port of Holyhead remains closed for repairs. Sailing still suspended between Holyhead and Dublin, and train services are suspended between Llandudno Junction and Blaenau Festiniog because of a fallen tree on the line. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
You could be joining the Great British Giveaway list of winners with your chance to grab a fantastic £50,000 in tax-free cash.
My name is Cliff. And my name is Julie. And we won 25,000. I'd say don't hesitate, do it. If you're not in it, you've got no chance of winning it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking... This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. A tragic start to 2025 as a suspected terror attack strikes New Orleans.
Killing 15 people and injuring dozens who were there simply to celebrate the new year.
Well, the primary suspect is identified as US citizen and Army veteran Shamsuddin Jabbar, but the FBI says it's possible he wasn't acting alone.
President Joe Biden has spoken overnight after Donald Trump blamed the attack on migration.
For hours before the attack, he posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill.
Law enforcement investigate whether the explosion of a Tesla Cybertruck outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas could be linked to events in New Orleans.
After small boat migrant numbers rose by a quarter last year, the Home Office is cracking the whip as Labour attempts to make good on its promise to smash the gangs.
13,000 high street stores shut up shop in 2024. Could this jolt the government into trying to save the Great British High Street?
The Sussexes storm into 2025 as Meghan Markle announces her return to social media in a post that's confusing some people.
Yeah, I'm a little confused by that. In sport, although my opening post of 2025 is exactly the same. In sport this morning, semi-final day of the World Darts Championship with 17-year-old Luke Littler playing tonight. Arsenal win at Brentford, and is Trent Alexander-Arnold off to Madrid.
Hello, good morning. We've got some cold weather in store across the UK over the next few days. Most of us will see some sunshine at times, but equally there will be some frost, some ice and some snow to contend with as well. I'll have all the details later.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
We were talking in the papers about obesity levels rising and the number of people being treated for obesity on the NHS quadrupling.
In a decade.
In a decade. Anne's been in touch with a good point, actually, Anne. She says, my husband had his yearly checkup just before Christmas. The nurse told him he was overweight and needed to lose a stone or two, which is fair enough. But she says the nurse was built like a brick outhouse and had no business picking on anyone's weight. She was a good stone heavier than my hubby and probably 5 inches shorter and 30 years younger. And I do think that's an issue when you get told to be healthy by people who don't look very healthy.
And don't know how to be healthy themselves.
I don't know. It's like, don't do as I say, do as I do. I mean, everybody knows that if you need to lose weight, you need to lose weight. You don't have the person doing it and go, well, you're not, so therefore I'm not.
No, but you do lead by example.
But who leads? You have a nurse that leads? Is it a doctor that leads? Is it someone in the government that leads?
Sometimes you go and see your GP and they're vastly overweight or...
But the thing is, they're advising you. You know very well that it's the right thing, but just because that person may be telling you is overweight, it doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, in that case, I'm not going to bother. Don't you think?
Yeah, well...
I don't know. I just think we've just got really lazy.
I think you're probably right.
I think it's easier just to grab a fast food wrap or a porridge, sugary porridge, instant thing like that. Whereas if you just get porridge oats, a bar of chocolate or whatever you grab for breakfast. I mean, you can have porridge oats really cheaply. You can have eggs really cheaply. Grab a banana.
Oh, eggs aren't that cheap though now.
Oh, for a pack of you'd be all right.
And from feeling bad and hearing what you're saying, it's actually making my stomach rumble, and I'm thinking that sounds great.
We've really overcomplicated it. It doesn't need to be. You can get simple food cheaply.
See, there's a couple of interesting points coming through in this. Martin says cheap food is full of rubbish. But good and fresh foods are not a long-term option. Stop local councils opening multiple fast food takeout shops every 10 yards. Hair salons, barbers and takeouts are the only growth industries in the UK, which I think is a good point. John says, when I was a kid, you were lucky to have tomato sauce or brown sauce on your dinner. Look at all the different condiments they have these days. They're a couple of hundred calories in before they've even started.
Yeah, it's all your hidden calories, isn't it?
And that's true as well. But how do you deal with it? How do you deal with it? I don't know.
Sometimes there's something to be said for self-discipline. And we all... It is hard. And you know what? And I'm thinking the same thing. And start the new year, right, I've got to cut because I'm eating so much rubbish. So many of us do it. But sometimes, you know, whatever reason, sometimes there is a bit of discipline where you just think, right, I'm not going to do it. And I'm not going to do it anymore from now.
It's getting your head around it. I have to say, I've hit a point now, because obviously I've eaten badly over Christmas.
Yeah, sure.
Where I just don't want to eat that stuff anymore.
Right.
You're craving a vegetable.
I'm craving a vegetable. I did buy a cauliflower.
But do you...
And I'm going to make cauliflower soup.
Lovely.
Good idea.
But do you leave... That's the thing at home. There's all this chocolate everywhere.
Yeah.
And do you go, right, now, what am I going to do? I'm going to throw it away? No, it's really difficult to throw it away.
Now, that's where your discipline comes in.
Half of that Toblerone that's sitting there looking me in the eye this morning at 3 o'clock, thinking... Oh, it's so easy. I could just have a piece of that. Now, maybe just throw it away. Get rid.
Oh, I don't know. See, I've got a load of chocolate, but I'm not going to throw it away. I'm going to save it and see if I can spread it out over the year.
That's the way to do it. Just have a few little chunks with the tea in the evening.
There you go. You're disciplined.
I don't know if I've got the discipline, but I'm going to try.
OK, well, good luck. I don't think I have. Well, can I give you my chocolate?
Yeah,
Can I just bring it in tomorrow?
Bring it in.
Donate it to us if you like.
OK.
Anyway, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/you'll say. Now, it isn't how we expected the year to start, I'm afraid. America is mourning 15 dead after a car rammed into New Year's revellers in New Orleans.
Well, the FBI has named the main suspect as a US citizen, Samshud bin Bahar Jabbar, who was previously in the US Army.
Well, they've also said an Islamic State group flag was found in the vehicle and they're investigating the attack as an act of terrorism.
Well, President Biden addressed a news conference overnight.
The FBI has reported to me the killer was an American citizen, born in Texas. He served in the United States Army on active duty for many years. He also served in the Army Reserve until a few years ago. The FBI also reported to me that mere hours before the attack, he posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill. The ISIS flag was found in his vehicle, which he rented to conduct this attack.
Well, on the home front, Sir Keir Starmer has issued the following statement saying the shockingly violent attack in New Orleans is horrific. My thoughts are with the victims, their families, the emergency responders and the people of the United States at this tragic time.
Well, meanwhile, in Las Vegas, one person died, 7 injured after a Tesla Cybertruck exploded outside Trump's Las Vegas hotel. Authorities are now investigating whether these two incidents could be linked.
Well, Elon Musk claims that Tesla had nothing to do with the attack. Writing on X, we have now confirmed that the explosion was caused by a very large firework and/or a bomb carried in the bed of a rented Cybertruck and is unrelated to the vehicle itself. All vehicle telemetry was positive at the time of the explosion.
Well, in response to both events, President Trump posted on Truth Social saying our country is a disaster, a laughingstock all over the world. This is what happens when you have open borders.
He ended with, only strength and powerful leadership will stop it. See you on January the 20th.
Let's talk to political analyst Eric Ham, who joins us now. Eric, I mean, what a disaster for the country, particularly for the people of New Orleans, trying to start a new year and faced with this absolute tragedy.
Yeah, that's right. And New Orleans is seen as one of America's most iconic cities. And of course, we know that there are so many events taking place in that city over the next few days, weeks, and months. There is a major football event taking place today where tens of thousands of people will be in attendance. In addition to that, the annual Super Bowl is scheduled to take place there next month as well. And so now we know that there are going to be tremendous law enforcement on the scene and then throughout the city to ensure that those events are safe and that there are no other copycats on the ground. But clearly, I think what we saw from this event is that when people are hell-bent on killing others, they'll be able to do so no matter what.
Yeah. What do we know about the suspect, Eric? Because the authorities are concerned as well that he wasn't acting alone.
Yes, that's true. And we haven't gotten more information about evidence that points to the fact that there are others that are involved in this case. But what we do know about the individual is he's someone who has served in the military, leaving the military as a staff sergeant. He was also deployed to Afghanistan from 2009 to 2010. Other than that, there's not more information that we have to go on. And also there is talk that perhaps the event that took place in New Orleans, as well as the event that took place in Las Vegas, could possibly be linked. Now, the FBI has not suggested that they are, but given the fact that both events happened, and also the fact that there is some political symbolism to the fact that this explosion took place outside a Trump hotel, there are concerns that there are linkages between the two events.
It's interesting what President Trump has said ahead of the inauguration on January the 20th. I mean, look, in the wake of this, people will be saying, yeah, more needs to be done. We need to crack down on this sort of influence of Islamic State in the United States, and it's whether that actually can be acted upon.
Well, that's true. And I think also there's always the concern about homegrown terrorism. And we know this was an individual who was actually from the United States. He was born in Texas, served in the U.S. military. But of course, we know that the ongoing events and the violence taking place in the Middle East is certainly something that is, I think, reason for concern for the United States. And I think this is going to be an issue that will continue to vex both the Biden administration as well as the incoming Trump administration.
Because it does seem as though the radicalization of the suspect was recent and it happened quickly. As you say, this is a man who once served for his country.
Yeah, that's right. But we also know that he was struggling with employment, and we know that he was recently divorced. So we don't know if those were some of the life-changing or traumatic events that actually turned him. But again, this is something that, of course, the United States law enforcement will have to be concerned with. And I think heading into a new year, a new presidency, and also, again, the polarization that we're seeing take place in our politics in the United States, as well as the ongoing conflicts in the Middle East, I think it's reason for there to be a step up in the vigilance that we see, not only at the borders, as President-elect Donald Trump has stated, but also ensuring that there's vigilance in many of the events, and also the soft targets that we see, like what took place with those revelers in New Orleans as well.
Yeah, but it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's always the way with this sort of thing, Eric. We talk about these bigger pictures, and that needs to be addressed. Of course it does. But that makes no difference now to those people who are grieving, who are suffering such a personal loss.
That's so true, because we know that in that very area where this attack took place, they were actually preparing to place greater barricades in that area in preparation for the upcoming Super Bowl, but unfortunately, they just weren't done. And of course, that left the area vulnerable. And now we have 15 dead and more than 30 that are injured as a result.
Just a horrific start to the year. Eric, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Now, at 13 minutes past 7, smashing the gangs. We know a key promise of the Labour government, but how do they plan to make good on that?
Well, under the Border Security, Asylum and Immigration Bill, suspected people smugglers will face travel bans, social media blackouts and restrictions on accessing their phones.
All right, let's talk to political commentator Theo Usherwood, who joins us now. It's very difficult to read that list of what could happen, Theo, and not ask, how is that going to make any difference at all?
It's a very good question because, of course, these measures can only be applied against suspects in this country. They can't be applied against any criminal operatives working in people smuggling gangs abroad. And that's the first question, of course, that this raises. And this isn't actually that big a change. These orders already exist. It's simply what's going to be introduced as part of legislation to go before Parliament and through Parliament later this month is to give the authorities the ability to apply these orders to suspects at the very earliest stage. So that once the authorities, know a suspect that they have in mind who is involved in people smuggling, but again, they have to be based in this country, they can apply the orders, as you say, to prevent them from travelling using their phones or social media. And the hope is that by doing that, they'll be able to disrupt their plans to bring people into this country illegally, primarily by crossing the English Channel. But these are, David Davis, the Conservative MP, he's speaking independently of the Conservative Party line, by the way, has questioned whether actually this is giving draconian powers to the authorities within the Home Office. Chris Philp, the Shadow Home Secretary, has claimed, said that Keir Starmer has the cheek now to try and introduce such measures when he voted against Conservative legislation when the Conservatives were in government, which would actually apply life sentences to those found guilty of people smuggling. And yet we have the highest numbers, second highest numbers on record for 2024, confirmed yesterday, that just shy of 37,000 people crossed the English Channel in the year. That is the second highest. It actually is up on the previous year of 29,000 by around 25%. And Keir Starmer badly needs to get a grip of this problem, but it remains to be seen and questionable whether the measures such as this are actually going to succeed in doing so.
Because what we're talking about here are sophisticated international criminal networks.
Yeah.
So these measures, many people say, is simply just tinkering around the edges.
Yes, tinkering around the edges. And as you say, Ellie, quite rightly, these are sophisticated gangs. When measures are brought in by the authorities, they are able to work around them very quickly to ensure that they comply, if they're moving, say, boats around, that they can comply with the law, or that they don't flag any or raise any suspicions. These are all, they're organised, they're making huge amounts of money. Tickets for a place in one of these boats, they're around, £3,000 to £5,000 per head. So there is serious money to be made. And if you're just simply introducing these orders, which can only be applied to operatives in this country, and let's be frank about it, the main operation is being run, countries close to North Africa, the Middle East, and that's where these people are coming in from. And that's and travelling across Europe, their travel being facilitated across Europe, so ultimately they can take a small boat across the English Channel. And that's where Keir Starmer needs to get to grips with the problem. And that's where, to be fair to him, he's trying to do it, but it is very, very difficult to do so with these measures. And he did scrap on day 3 of his premiership the one deterrent that existed, which was the Rwanda deportation scheme, which was to try and actually deal with the pool of coming to the UK, which was that you could you'd be safe in accommodation provided by the state. Of course, these are hotels costing the taxpayer £8 million a day, because you could, in effect, face deportation to Rwanda. But Keir Starmer didn't want to proceed with that scheme. Of course, there was a huge amount of opposition within his own party.
You see, I keep looking at this and wondering if there's something that I'm missing, because when you look at these, of all the problems that you highlight, you look at these measures and you think, well, this is laughable, actually. So what does this say about the Home Office at the moment, and indeed the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper? She first went into the role of Shadow Home Secretary 14 years ago. Why is the Home Office appearing to just not function at the moment?
Well, look, if you're in this government is committed to our signatory as committed signatory to the ECHR, and this was the problem that Rishi Sunak got into when he was Prime Minister, because he wanted to introduce the Rwanda scheme, but of course a plane never left this country to Rwanda with migrants on it, then you have to operate within the confines of the ECHR, and that prevents you from operating a scheme like the Rwanda scheme. Robert Jenrick, who, of course, of GB News, has made the point, and this is a perfectly valid point, that he thinks the Conservatives should have come out of the ECHR. He resigned as the Immigration Minister for that precise reason. Rishi Sunak thought that he could change the law in various ways to get it over the line, but Keir Starmer simply isn't prepared to entertain that particular issue. He doesn't have the support within his own party to do so, and so he has to operate within the confines of the current system that we are.
Saying we'll block your social media account is folly.
So I think what may change, and this is something where it may go, but I think it's going to take a long time to get to that particular point, is that, we are not on our own with this particular problem. Germany has seen high levels of migration. We've got elections coming up in Germany. It's very likely that the right of centre CDU is likely to win those elections. They've already talked about the idea that actually there needs to be reform of the ECHR. We've got, in a couple of years' time, it is a distinct possibility that Marine Le Pen National Rally could take over the presidency from Emmanuel Macron. We've already seen Giorgia Meloni come in as Prime Minister of Italy. And I think what may well happen is that actually other major European countries say, actually, we need to start reforming the ECHR. This is a problem for our countries. And then if we can piggyback on that, then I think we're much more likely to see some significant changes in Europe to this particular convention, which will allow us to make those changes, which would then allow us to implement a scheme like Rwanda, whether it's to Rwanda or to another country, and work on a European basis. And ultimately, I think that will probably be the solution. But it is going to take many, many years.
Yeah. Which, in the meantime, is seeing people head to our shores in record numbers.
Yeah.
Theo, good to see you.
Great.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Right, at 20 minutes past 7, let's take a look at the weather with Marco.
A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. The next few days are looking pretty chilly across the UK. There'll be some sunshine around, but equally some wintry hazards to contend with as well. Low pressure is now starting to pull away from the east of the UK, and that's allowing that northerly airstream to become established. So as we go through the day today, plenty of sunshine, certainly for inland areas, but showers also moving down in that north to northwesterly breeze, particularly across northern Scotland into parts of Northern Ireland, a few in through the Irish Sea and down some eastern coasts of England as well. So the best of sunshine into the afternoon, reserved for those central and southern spots across inland areas, but notice wherever you are, despite the sunshine, it's going to be pretty chilly. Temperatures no higher than 6 or 7 Celsius, that's the low 40s in Fahrenheit. As we go through the evening then into the overnight period, we hold on to further showers moving in there across the north of Scotland. So to end the day on Thursday, there will be more showers to contend with across the north and northwest of Scotland there. Southern parts of Scotland mostly fine, but turning very chilly, a frost reforming quite quickly here. A few showers into parts of Northern Ireland, but again, southern parts of the province escaping those and turning quite frosty. And turning frosty with some icy patches in places too across parts of England and Wales. Showers mainly again reserved for western areas and down the North Sea coasts. As we go into the overnight period, the showers will tend to become more widespread from the north and northwest, particularly across the north of the UK. Plenty of the sleet and snow showers pushing their way in across Scotland into Northern Ireland, eventually parts of northern England. Elsewhere, the blue colours indicating a widespread frost, and icy patches are possible pretty much across the UK. Temperatures plummeting below freezing, certainly in towns and cities, and much lower than that in some rural spots as well. As for Friday, well, it's a day of sunshine and showers. The showers, once again, wintry in nature, a mixture of sleet and snow in places, and becoming fairly widespread, particularly towards the north and northwest, with southern and southeastern parts of the UK, again, seeing the best of the lingering sunshine. Wherever you are, it's pretty chilly, temperatures no better than mid-single figures, and feeling colder out and about, particularly in that north to northwesterly breeze. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye for now.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, if you didn't get everything that you desired this Christmas, how about £50,000 to cheer you up?
Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? It's all up for grabs and our biggest ever Great British giveaway. Here are all the details that you need to enter.
You could be joining the Great British Giveaway list of winners with your chance to grab a fantastic £50,000 in tax-free cash.
My name is Cliff. And my name is Julie. And we won 25,000. I'd say don't hesitate, do it. If you're not in it, you've got no chance of winning it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Nana Queer, weekends from 3 p.m.
Today I am joined by documentary maker Daniel Wing, who is still trying to find out who murdered his mother 30 years on. He's also created a documentary called Who Murdered You, Mum? Daniel, can you just tell us the story of what happened to your mother, what you know?
So when I was 1 year old in 1992, my mum Tina was murdered. My dad went on trial for it and was acquitted. And the case went unsolved and has been unsolved for 32 years. My nan, who raised me, amazing woman, passed away sadly 2 years ago, and that kind of sent me on a quest for answers.
So your documentary then, what are you hoping to achieve with it?
I am fighting for justice for my mum. I have had a meeting with the police and they are looking to see what they have and are looking to reopen investigation if they can find new and compelling evidence. What's interesting now is speaking to other families who are actually going through the trauma and experience of murder.
Yeah.
My mum didn't get the opportunity to be a mum. What would my life have been? I'm now 33 years old with no parents. And it's that kind of thing. It's a very, I guess, lonely journey in what I'm experiencing. That's why I wanted to make this film, because I hadn't had the opportunity to be able to grieve my mother and know who she was. And that was really what this journey was about. It was about finding out who she was and being able to grieve. Everyone had the opportunity, although terrible circumstances, to be able to go to the funeral and have that moment, and I never had that opportunity.
The People's Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
7:27, good morning now. How often do you, be honest, do you really shop on your local high street? Have you noticed that more and more stores are closing? Well, last year, apparently 13,000 stores closed for the last time on the high street.
Well, experts warn the worst is still to come for our small businesses.
Well, let's talk to retail expert Jeremy Baker. Good morning to you, Jeremy. How bad is it and what can be done?
Well, nothing can be done about it. Retail is like that. It's boom and bust operation. So last year, let's say you had a shop and it was booming. This year, the consumer can just change their mind. They don't need to come back to your shop ever again. So you're bust next year. So that's the way retail goes. And the government idea of putting money into the high street, going back to good old days, that's a real waste of time, actually. Things like the high street can be used for GP, general practitioner, NHS, schools, for SEN children. They might like to go into a small school in a shop rather than a big, huge school where they get lost. So lots of things can be done with the high street, but bringing back the shops probably is not going to ever happen again, unfortunately. It's just sad, but that's life in retail. You did well last year. This year, who knows what's going to happen?
Well, it is sad, Jeremy, because our high streets are the beating heart of our communities, aren't they? And for many people, I know I can relate to my high street, it is such a depressing sight, walking down there and seeing them all boarded up and closed down.
But how often do you walk down that boarded up high street? I think people move on to something else. The online world is very big, and lots of other things are very exciting. And so people, the shop, I like to go to my GP in a shopping centre and get my tests done there rather than tramp off all the way to the GP, for example. And children could go to little schools in the high street. I've seen that happen already. So lots of things could happen to the high street. It could be much more a social centre, much more kind of like pubs, coffee shops, all that. Charities. I don't see anything wrong with charities taking over, but the idea of this shop-centred high street finished, that's gone, never coming back. Goodbye. It's not sad, it's just life.
Jeremy, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. I do think a lot of people bemoan the loss of the high street in that sense, but then when we look at our own actions, are we doing enough to try to save it? Should we be wanting the government to do more to try and save the high street? Jeremy says it's a waste of money.
Yeah.
You just got to let it evolve. In effect, let it die out.
Yeah. Lots of people saying it is just evolution. That's all it is. And if shops, small businesses can't stand on their own 2 feet, then perhaps they shouldn't be there.
Of course, there is an argument as well, and I've come across this on my local high street, with shops saying, well, we were shutting at Christmas because we can't afford what the government's done in the budget. Can't afford to keep going because of the increase to national insurance payments and things they've got to make.
And it's going to get harder from April, isn't it? So, the worst could still be to come, I'm afraid. But this all leads into our poll of the day today. We're talking about, obviously, these 13,000 high street shops that shut for good last year. We're asking, is it time that the government did more to save the great British high streets? So we'll bring you the live results throughout the day. Make sure you stay tuned. As always, the final result will be announced later in Martin Daubney's show. And if you want to get involved, just head to gbnews.com/poll.
I wonder if it's just not save it, just totally reinvent it. But you can't just have a high street
Well, that's
full
what Jeremy's saying.
But you can't do it just full of coffee shops, can you?
Well, already so many high streets resemble that. It's just cycling shops, coffee shops.
So, got to do something, got to think of something, or maybe turn it into proper housing.
Well, we need some of that, don't we?
We do need some of that. Anyway, let us know what you think, gbnews.com/your say, and we're going to take you through all the sport with Paul in just a moment.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. Train services in Scotland are suspended between Inverness and Wick, Thurso and Perth, and also between Malling and Oban because of poor weather conditions. In Murray, the A939 is closed each way between Cockbridge and Tomintoul in the Cairngorms because of snow. In Tyne and Wear, the A189 is closed each way between Dudley and Westmoor because of a burst water main. In North Yorkshire, the A59 is closed each way at Blubberhouses because of a landslip. A number of roads remain closed across parts of the northwest of England because of flooding. The Port of Holyhead remains closed for repairs, with sailing still suspended between Holyhead and Dublin. Train services are suspended between Llandudno Junction and Blaenau-Festiniog because of a fallen tree on the line. And in Kent, the A20 is closed off junction 10 of the M20 south of Ashford after an accident. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Britain's newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
Maria, potholes are the bane of everybody that uses the road, whether you're a car driver or a cyclist. As a cyclist, are even worse. How have we got into this situation where our roads are in such a bad state?
Well, part of it is to do with actually our climate. In somewhere like, say, Sweden, like the snow will fall on the ground, it will stay there for months. Whereas here we've got what's called a freeze-thaw climate, where the water comes down, then we might have a cold snap and it freezes, and the water within the pothole will then expand and make the pothole bigger. Then we might have a mild spell, and then that process repeats. So, we do actually need extra funding to acknowledge the fact that, we just live in a climate where we're sort of particularly vulnerable to potholes.
Why? I mean, the fact that this happens, these weather conditions happen, is no great surprise to anybody. Why has the problem been ignored for so long?
I think what's happened is we've had short-term funding. So it's like, oh, there's a pothole, let's patch it up. Oh, there's another one, let's patch it up. But the patches aren't actually really that strong, so then they break down again. So, really what we need is to have roads completely resurfaced, and then they'll just be pothole-free for a very long time. And that really is how funding should be. That's the direction funding should go in, as opposed to just sort of like dribs and drabs here and there.
Do you think this government are going to be good for the motorist, or is there indeed a war on the motorist still?
The different parties come in and they've all got different policies that they wheel out, then they cancel the policies, and then there's so much lack of transparency. Like, for example, with the pothole issue, sometimes the government, whichever government is in office, will do some big showboating about how they're going to give X amount of potholes, and you still think that sounds really good.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. It's 7:34. It's sports time. Paul Coiter's here with us. Morning.
Good morning. I love the darts. Love the darts.
Isn't it funny? Because it's quite relaxing to watch in a way,
It
but
is
then you
kind
end
of
up on the
relaxing.
end of your seat, edge of your seat.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's very exciting. The people that haven't watched the darts don't realise how exciting the darts can possibly be. And every World Championship, you watch the World Championship and then kind of forget about it and think, oh, no, and the World Championship comes around again, it's really exciting. Ellie, you'd love it there, wouldn't you? I mean, I imagine that you would have a really great time.
I quite like the costumes, to be fair.
Did you never go and see it when some of the darts, it was like at the Lakeside Shopping Centre and all that? They used
It
to
was
do
down in
there.
Grays, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In Essex.
Purfleet?
No, I can't say I did. Purfleet, there you
Used
are.
to be at the used to be in Purfleet there, and also they had it because there were two World Championships. There was the BDO. And the thing is, that was the other one, which was the original, because there was the break-off 30 years ago. We're going to go through the history of darts now, please buckle in. So it used to be at the Circus Tavern at Purfleet. That's where they had this one, and the other one was at Lakeside over in Surrey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it in Surrey?
Yeah. It's not where the Lakeside Shopping Centre is. It was the Lakeside, but this is over in Surrey.
All right. No, it was good.
It still is good. But that was the days of Jockey Wilson and the days of Eric Bristow.
And
then they split, and so now it's the PDC.
Eric Bristow recently died.
He's been for a couple of years. It's a couple.
It's a shame. I mean, they were legends.
No longer.
They were household names. But this is the nice thing about this. Luke Littler is bringing it back to being household names.
I think so.
That's
I
true,
do think so. He has been brilliant for the sport. The fact that we started talking about him last year, didn't we, when he was 16. But, I don't know about you. I mean, Ellie, we've spoken about this, about the fact you can't see that he's a 17-year-old. He just seems so much older, doesn't he? And you think he does look young, right, if I remember?
No.
Yeah, so you think he seems older as well?
He does seem older.
Yeah. So
it's when he's interviewed and he's just like such a decent, down-to-earth bloke.
He's a 17-year-old kid. He's a child. He is effectively a child. There he is.
I think there's still more to come with him as well.
It's
not
you're
a one
right.
day,
There's
yeah.
a lot to come. I think he, without doubt, not only is he the best darts player there is around at the moment, he's the future of the sport as well, and everybody knows it. So the money that's coming in from sponsorship, etc., he's going to win the world title many, many times. So whether it's going to happen this year, I suspect it is. So he's now into the semi-finals. So the semi-finals are tonight. So he beat Nathan Aspinall yesterday, so he's going to play Stephen Bunting, who came through yesterday and did extremely, and beat Peter Wright former world champion. And the other one is Chris Dobie, who's from Newcastle, who play Michael van Gerwen. So the smart money is going to be MVG, Big Michael van Gerwen, who's going to play Luke Littler in the final.
That'll
That's
be quite
what
a
I
match,
think.
actually.
It will be one heck of a match. And Littler, I think, will be the one that will win the world title this year.
Calling it now.
That's where
I hope so.
That's where it is. I hope so too.
I hope so.
Should we look at the Premier League?
Yes.
There's only one match yesterday, was there?
There was. Anyway. Should we talk about it?
Well, I think we better add.
Is it my job? Sometimes my job gets in the way.
I know you hate to say it, but Arsenal won.
Arsenal won, and Arsenal were very good. No, Brentford won, Arsenal 3. Brentford have played really well at home, but Arsenal went 1-0 down. 17-year-old Ethan Nwaeri, I mean, he is incredible. And he's filling in for Bukayo Saka, and more than filling in those very large boots. And another 17-year-old. It's all about the 17-year-olds. So great home record for Brentford, beaten by Arsenal. Gabriel Jesus, Mikel Merino and Gabriel Martinelli scored. They are 6 points off of Liverpool at the top. Man City, miles away. So really, we're looking between those two. Who's going to win the title this year? Forest only 2 points behind as well.
Oh, that's very good news.
Forest are
They're doing really well at the moment.
really well. I mean, have you seen the smile on Daubny's face? That's the reason. If you think Martin Daubny looks so happy, that's the reason.
I've never thought he looked happy, to be fair.
Oh, yeah. Well, his eyebrow raises.
Oh, does
so
it?
That
So,
shows
yeah.
happiness. Yeah.
Trent Alexander-Arnold could be heading to Real Madrid.
Yes,
apparently.
I think so. So he comes to the end of his contract at the end of the season, hasn't signed a new contract yet with Liverpool. But the thing is, do Real Madrid offer money? 20 million is being offered because they can either wait until the end of the season when he becomes, basically he can move on a free. So the contract ends. I think we've got the front cover of Marca, which is the... there we are. There's my... Hold on, let me try and if I can... Do you speak Spanish, by the way?
A little bit.
Un poco español.
Ah, shit. Let me see. That says... good of them near Madrid. So the player wants to come to Madrid, I believe, and the yellow bit on it is all... Let me just read that. Has already told Liverpool, I think is what it says.
All right. Oh, well done. On the spot translation. Quiere venir a Madrid.
Yeah.
Excellent. Just before we let you go, can we talk close?
Oh, sorry. Should we speak English now?
No.
Yeah.
Un poco. Let's talk because the chess grandmaster Magnus Carlsen.
Oh yes.
Was thrown out the competition.
He was tossed asunder.
Because he had jeans on.
Well, he was told he's got to get changed because you can't wear jeans playing chess.
Why?
But when you're the finest chess master in the world,
standards.
You should be able to wear whatever you like, don't you think?
Well, the International Chess Federation says no.
That's
to
correct.
Dress to the occasion.
Yes. So off he
They
went.
had to dress elegantly or something.
Well, he stormed off in a huff and said, well, that's it, there he is, in his jeans.
Oh,
they're quite fetching. It's quite a fetching jean he's wearing there. So he stormed off.
He's still wearing a shirt. He looks smart enough.
Exactly. I mean, it's like us here. I mean, often I wear jeans, but you would never know that. OK, I'm wearing...
You are wearing jeans now, Paul.
Yeah. So, well, actually, shorts. So... He was banned for wearing the jeans and then said, oh, well, I'll storm off. And then he came back and said, no, I'm still going to wear the jeans. But if you see him playing, he is in a pair of pinstripe trousers. And he did win the title of the Blitz Championships and he shared it with Ian Nepomniachtchi.
Oh, I'm a big fan of...
I know you are.
Nepomniachtchi.
I know you are. That's why I mentioned him.
Excellent. All right, you and your jeans...
Sports and pastimes, by the way.
You and your jean shorts can get out now.
Fine.
It's like YMCA, isn't it?
I think you'll find they're hot pants.
There you go.
Thanks, Scotty.
Right, now, if you want to get your hot pants on, maybe you need some European
very good.
sun. Here are the top European holiday destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, here's your latest winter sun forecast for GB News. Over the next few days, things will be turning more unsettled across southern parts of Europe. We'll see a few showers across the Canary Islands and Madeira on Friday, some sunshine too. Sunshine for southern parts of Spain, rain further north, and as we head into central and southeastern parts of Europe, much more in the way of unsettled weather here. Plenty of rain around, some snow on the hills, and temperatures will be struggling in places too. As for the next few days into the weekend and the start of next week, we hold on to that mixed theme, plenty of sunshine but further showers at times as well.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
In 2020, after almost 80 years, Oxford University's Pitt Rivers Museum removed its famous collection of shrunken heads with sewn-up lips and eyes made by the South American Shuar and Ashwar people. How do museums decide what should be shown and what should be confined to storage? Can controversial exhibits be left on display with suitable contextualisation in captions? Who would want to be a curator facing such controversial questions? For review, I'm delighted to be joined by journalist Eitan Smallman. Welcome to GB News. I think many people, when they hear that we're going to discuss museums or art galleries, think that it's going to be, that wokery question. But it strikes me, and I think it strikes you too, that this is not just about wokery at all. There are some really interesting ethical questions here. For example, let's start with this one, and there are several examples of it. Should we be displaying human bodies, the remains of human beings? Should we be displaying them in museums?
Absolutely. It's not just the usual suspects, young snowflakes, who are objecting to these things. They're just naturally cultural shifts, and people of all ages and all political persuasions may feel uneasy about displaying human remains of any kind, especially human remains that have been taken against the will of the communities or taken violently. Hilary Mantel led a campaign to remove a 7-foot 7-inch skeleton of Charles Byrne, known as the Irish Giant, from the Hunterian Museum. He had specifically said that he didn't want to be displayed and didn't want to be taken by anatomists, and yet was displayed for a couple of hundred years until a couple of years ago. He hasn't had the burial he requested, but he's no longer on public display.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. This is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 7:45, time for the papers with Charlie Rowley and Andy Williams. Good morning to you both. Andy, let's have a look at the Telegraph, should we? Because the Home Secretary has announced that if you're a people smuggler and you happen to be in the UK for any length of time, they may turn your phone off.
Yes.
That's going to stop it.
This is going to form part of the border security bill that's coming this month.
Are you convinced by this?
Well, it's sort of what's the opposite of I will be. What's the opposite of using a sledgehammer to crack a nut? It feels like that, i.e. a very, very small measure to try and tackle a very, very large, complex problem.
Using a toothpick to knock down a wall.
Yeah, let's go with that. Now, I don't have the answer. This is such an intractable problem. I think the number of small boat crossings went up by 25% last year compared with 23. So it's obviously getting worse.
Yes.
There is no
sign... And it
sign...
rocketed after Labour came to power.
Well, I don't think we should read...
It went up more than 30% since Labour came.
I don't think we should read too much into that because they came into power. They came into power during the summer, and that's when the numbers are at their highest. So
and also Rwanda was scrapped.
Yeah, but
the highest December figures.
I don't think Rwanda was the answer. I don't think there was any evidence that Rwanda was genuinely. I don't think it was a deterrent. I really don't. And actually, it was an extremely expensive scheme with almost no outcome at all. But
it wasn't allowed to start, was it?
Well, I don't think it should have been. But what I would say is that there is no evidence so far that Labour's alternative plan amounts to much, and I think that's a real concern. I think people will look at this and say, Well, OK, so you're going to confiscate phones and laptops and place restrictions on the travel of people smugglers, but, you know, by definition, people smugglers don't really play by the rules.
No.
So I'm not...
Not often in this country.
Right, exactly, yeah.
So it's nonsensical, then?
It doesn't seem...
I'm just waiting you to say it.
No, it doesn't. From what I've seen of this plan so far, it doesn't seem like something that's going to solve the problem.
Well, I'm saying nothing because that was perfect. I mean, look, you know, the people that are doing all the people smuggling, smash the gangs, it's all sort of, you know, sound bites. Absolutely right. You've got to stop the people that are enticing people into the country in the first place, but they're not in the UK. And I find it... although part of me actually is supportive of this, because I do think we should be as proactive as possible, because the issue has gone on for so long.
Yeah, but that's more of the cherry on the cake rather than the fundamentals, isn't it?
Yeah. But there is a slight sort of drawback, because, you know, you can be a suspected, you know, part of this sort of network and chain, but, you know, being a suspect and then having your mobile phone taken away, your internet sort of shut down and all the rest of it. And if you're actually, you know, not part of that at all, then, you know, the Home Office has got quite a legal bill.
That's what David
facing
Davis has said. He's saying in this country you are innocent until you're proven guilty. So this can't even be enacted.
Exactly. I think what is the better option is probably investing in cyber technology more to sort of actually go after the people and knowing who those people are,
but
prosecuting them, banging them up.
Yes, but then you've got the old argument, haven't you, that you know, you cut the head off the snake, you get two more heads, sort of thing. Isn't there an argument to say it's supply and demand? You need to deter people from wanting to come, and then the demand dries up.
I think that's true. And what I would say about
a deterrent then, like, I don't know, Rwanda.
But I don't think there was any evidence that actually did deter people.
Numbers dropped 30%.
When?
Since when the Rwanda scheme was being talked about, and was on the brink of actually happening, the numbers dropped 30%. The argument being that if it was actually allowed to be enacted by a Tory government winning in July, it would have dropped even further.
Well, we'll never know, will we? I mean, I just don't think that's the case. But what I do think about this particular example is I think it's indicative of a wider problem in government, which is that there were lots of high-level ambitions set out in the run-up to the election and after, but when it comes to the detail and the actual implementation, doesn't seem to have been that well thought through, and I think that is a concern.
From Yvette Cooper, who's been in the shadow position for 14 years.
Well, that's what I don't understand, is I would have thought...
If she's not across her brief, who is?
Well, I think she's across her brief, but she doesn't seem to have a coherent or comprehensive plan to solve what is admittedly a very, very difficult problem. And I would have expected that Labour would have come in on day one and had a plan and set out to, you know, enact it. And here we are in January with the bill coming, and this seems to be kind of thin gruel.
Charlie, should we have a look at...
That was very good, by the way, I have to say. I think you just did my job for me. But it's a massive problem. It's a massive problem.
But you can't defend the indefensible, can you?
Well, you know, we've all been there.
That's true.
As everybody will know. But I think when you've got migrants coming over who say thank you for Labour, thank you to Kiev for scrapping Rwanda, you know, when people are moving from into Ireland to get into Northern Ireland to come to the country, you know, because of the EU and the lack of borders, I think that speaks for itself. I think, and where other European countries are looking to Rwanda now that we've scrapped it, you know, having us paid the bill for all the infrastructure there, I think that's it'll just be a smack in the face to UK taxpayers.
Should we have a look at the Daily Mirror? And this is a story about dentistry, and private dentists are profiteering from the NHS crisis.
Yes, so there's a backlog of in the NHS, as we know. There's a backlog in our dentistry. It needs a lot more funding to get through that. And obviously people are looking to, who need treatment, whether it's root canal, whether it's just a tooth extraction, whether it's a filling, they're going private. And those costs have absolutely soared, and they're making absolute killing. And it is obviously awful having a toothache or having any kind of sort of dental work, you know, that you need to be done. It's absolutely awful. But
people will pay anything, won't they, if they're desperate. If you ever had toothache, you'd pay anything to stop that pain, wouldn't you?
Totally. And, you know, you're seeing, you know, Turkey, for example, people, you know, it's cheaper to hop on a plane and go to Turkey and have, you know, questionable treatment unless you know where you're going or know you're recommended to a particular clinic, because people can't get it on the NHS, and it's costing more and more because of a contract that I think was sort of clearly hasn't worked out, where it's cost more for treatments and cost more for services, but that didn't take into account inflation in the last couple of years. So it's the NHS dentistry has cost more than what's actually being funded. Right. And you're just seeing more and more people needing work that are having to go private and paying over and above.
Through the teeth, literally.
Quite literally.
Though one thing I will say is, especially if you've got kids and things, or even for yourself, don't let it put you off going for checkups, because the checkups aren't so bad. I mean, look at the figures here, 775 quid for root canal. I mean, that's the sort of figures my dentist charges for that sort of work, which is extortionate. However, a checkup by the dentist, 25 quid. And so don't let it stop you having a checkup, even if you might have questions about whether you can afford the treatment.
My
worth doing.
My mum always used to insist that we went to the dentist every 6 months for a checkup.
That's what you're meant to do, aren't you?
Yeah. And have sort of a clean and all the rest of it. But it's important to go, because you're now seeing, I think it's kids, the people under the age of, I think, 10 or 11, the number one cause of attending the NHS or any treatment is dentistry in young people.
Tooth decay.
Tooth decay.
Yeah.
We've got about 45 seconds, Andy. What's going on with cheese?
So this is a restaurateur in Yorkshire who is finding that his cheese deliveries, which are being left outside his restaurant, are consistently being stolen. So he's put air tags, little tracking devices, inside the cheese so that he can see when they're stolen, where they go. So he's sort of like following his stolen cheese around North Yorkshire.
But why is he getting to the cheese, putting an air tag, rather than picking it up and putting it in the restaurant?
That is a very good question, and I haven't interrogated that. That would be a better solution.
It would be, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Call me old-fashioned. Right, thank you both very much indeed. See you later on.
Let's have a look at the weather.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. The next few days are looking pretty chilly across the UK. There'll be some sunshine around, but equally some wintry hazards to contend with as well. Low pressure is now starting to pull away from the east of the UK, and that's allowing that northerly airstream to become established. So as we go through the day today, plenty of sunshine, certainly for inland areas, but showers also moving down in that north to northwesterly breeze, particularly across northern Scotland into parts of Northern Ireland, a few in through the Irish Sea and down some eastern coasts of England as well. The best of sunshine into the afternoon, reserved for those central and southern spots across inland areas, but notice wherever you are, despite the sunshine, it's going to be pretty chilly. Temperatures no higher than 6 or 7 Celsius, that's the low 40s in Fahrenheit. As we go through the evening then into the overnight period, we hold on to further showers moving in there across the north of Scotland. So to end the day on Thursday, there will be more showers to contend with across the north and northwest of Scotland there. Southern parts of Scotland mostly fine, but turning very chilly, a frost reforming quite quickly here. A few showers into parts of Northern Ireland, but again, southern parts of the province escaping those and turning quite frosty. And turning frosty with some icy patches in places too across parts of England and Wales. Showers mainly again reserved for western areas and down the North Sea coasts. As we go into the overnight period, the showers will tend to become more widespread from the north and northwest, particularly across the north of the UK. Plenty of the sleet and snow showers pushing their way in across Scotland, into Northern Ireland, eventually parts of northern England. Elsewhere, the blue colours indicating a widespread frost, and icy patches are possible pretty much across the UK. Temperatures plummeting below freezing, certainly in towns and cities, and much lower than that in some rural spots as well. As for Friday, well, it's a day of sunshine and showers. The showers, once again, wintry in nature, a mixture of sleet and snow in places, and becoming fairly widespread, particularly towards the north and northwest, with southern and southeastern parts of the UK, again, seeing the best of the lingering sunshine. Wherever you are, it's pretty chilly, temperatures no better than mid-single figures, and feeling colder out and about, particularly in that north to northwesterly breeze. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye for now.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. Train services in Scotland are suspended between Inverness and Wick, Thurso and Perth, and also between Malling and Oban because of poor weather. In Murray, the A939 is closed each way between Cockbridge and Tomintoul in the Cairngorms because of snow. In Tyne and Wear, the A189 is closed each way between Dudley and Westmoor because of a burst water main. In North Yorkshire, the A59 is closed at Blubberhouses because of a landslip. There are delays of up to half an hour to trains between York and Leeds because of a points failure at Harrogate. The Port of Holyhead remains closed for repairs. Train services are suspended between Llandudno Junction and Blaenau Festiniog because of a fallen tree on the line. In Norfolk, the A140 is partly blocked by an accident on Holt Road in Norwich. On the M3 in Surrey, there's a lane closed on the northbound exit to the clockwise M25 where cars overturned causing queues. And in Kent, the A20 is closed each way off junction 10 of the M20 south of Ashford after an accident. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
There's still plenty of time to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize ever, an incredible £50,000. What would you spend £50,000 on in the coming year? Spectacular holidays, a brand new car, home improvements, or maybe you'd just like to save it for a special occasion? For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Thank you, Britain.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for subscribing.
Thank you for your support.
It's you that make us the People's Channel.
As we reflect on our journey so far, we're filled with immense gratitude.
You mean the world to us. We couldn't have reached this point without you.
As a very special thank you, we are giving you the chance to win one of 50 GB News thank you boxes. They're worth £50 each.
For full terms and conditions, and to enter, just go to gbnews.com/thank you.
If you want your news to be straight talking... This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. A tragic start to 2025 as a suspected terror attack strikes New Orleans.
Killing 15 people and injuring dozens who were simply there to celebrate the new year.
Well, the primary suspect identified as a US citizen, an army veteran, Shamsuddin Jabbar, but the FBI says he probably wasn't acting alone.
President Joe Biden has spoken overnight after Donald Trump blamed the attack on migration.
For hours before the attack, he posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill.
Law enforcement investigate whether the explosion of a Tesla Cybertruck outside the Trump Hotel in Vegas could be linked to events in New Orleans.
After small boat migrant numbers rose by a quarter last year, Labour is cracking the whip to make good on its promise to smash the gangs. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp will be sharing his thoughts on that in just a moment.
The Sussexes storm into 2025 as Meghan Markle announces her return to social media in a post which is, well, at the very best, a little bit confusing.
And in sport, Luke Littler eases into the semi-finals of the World Darts Championship. Arsenal ease past Brentford, and in tennis, Katie Boulter avoids an uneasy match against a fiancé.
Hello, good morning. We've got some cold weather in store across the UK over the next few days. Most of us will see some sunshine at times, but equally there will be some frost, some ice and some snow to contend with as well. I'll have all the details later.
It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Now, I'm not the biggest fan of social media.
No.
But it serves its purpose.
Sure.
But I wouldn't be deleting my accounts and reinstating them, and then deleting the accounts again, then reinstating them again.
A lot of people.
Like Meghan Markle. Has done. Also, she's got the handle now on Instagram @Meghan.
I'd be interested to know how she managed to get that, actually.
She'll have had to have bought it off someone.
For lots of money, I'd imagine.
Yeah, lots.
I'd imagine. Yeah.
It's @Meghan.
It's when people do the real so-and-so. Have you seen that? When people call themselves there on Twitter and they go, real so-and-so. It's like, well, unless someone really wants to be, it's almost saying, aren't I important? The real.
Or the
exactly.
official.
The official, the real.
Oh, maybe I should change
I'm
mine.
completely unofficial and not real.
No,
slightest.
you're not.
So, yeah,
well, mind you, Meghan has got nearly 700,000 followers on her new account.
Which is not a lot, really.
It's not a lot.
By posting this, well, she's only just opened it. She's got that many in a few. And look, she's running across the beach. And what you can't probably hear from this is there's lots of, joyous giggling. And it's, guess what, people? It's 2025.
Yeah, she draws 2025 in the sand
and then
giggles.
And
reckon
runs
that was
off.
done in one take?
Yes.
You think so? Yeah.
Well, it can't. Well,
do the 5 again. Tide came in.
I just don't get what it means. And why is it so grey?
Well, and I don't know. It's like, why do we care? I don't know. It just rubs me up the wrong way. And maybe it shouldn't.
I think she loves social media, Meghan Markle, because there's a section in Spare, if you remember, Prince Harry talking about the fact she gave up her social media and she did it all at the palace's behest and she really didn't want to. Yeah. And then since then, we've seen, as you say, the coming on and off of social media. She obviously just desperately wants to be on social media.
She thinks she'll get some love. Mind you, someone I know, I looked at the account, someone I know has been on and follows her already and has liked that post.
Oh, you're across the details.
Which I just think, oh, why?
Yes.
But each to their own. Each to their own.
Have you unfollowed that person?
No, my ex is a friend of mine. But I mean, it's...
All right, well, sorry, I didn't realise.
I just don't know why you would like it. I just think it's crackers myself.
Yeah, anyway. Well, it'll be interesting. Does this mean 2025 she wants to be a full-time influencer? Maybe.
Is that a job nowadays?
Riviera.
She probably doesn't even know. It's like 2025. Look at this. Ha-ha! Look at what we're doing. What are you going to do? I don't know. I haven't made my mind up yet. But we'll start with this.
She's going to be a sand artist.
Oh, yes. They're very good,
Could be the thing. Could be the thing. Right. Should we talk about the Labour government and what they're going to do about immigration? Because, obviously, they got rid of Rwanda, which is the deterrent plan, which never, of course, fully came into effect at all. And they're going to smash the gangs. Well, we've heard that for a long time now. And one thing that's been announced by the Home Secretary is this idea that she will restrict people's social media accounts and restrict their phone usage and things like if they're suspected of being part of a terror gang who happens a smuggling gang which happens to be in the UK at the time, because obviously you can only legislate within our own borders. Is that going to make any difference? Let's talk to the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp. Good morning to you. I mean, on the surface, it's hard to see what difference this would actually make.
Good morning, and firstly, Happy New Year to you and all of your viewers as well. Look, I agree with you. These are very, very minor measures the government's announced that are frankly going to make no difference at all. The idea that telling a people smuggler they might get their mobile phone confiscated is going to make the slightest bit of difference is frankly fanciful. The government have completely failed so far to smash the gangs, as they keep putting it. And this is the same government, of course, the same Labour Party who voted against life sentences for those very same gangs when they were in opposition. And on their watch, since the election, now 6 months ago, illegal immigration across the Channel has gone up by 29% compared to last year. About 1,500 illegal immigrants have crossed in the last year. The last week, in the last week alone. And I think it was a huge mistake of Labour to scrap the Rwanda deterrent before it even started. The first flight was due to take off on the 24th of July, and Labour cancelled it before that plane had a chance to leave. And I think if that had started, then we would see the numbers dramatically reducing. We saw that work in Australia about 10 years ago when they removed people to an island called Nauru. And it stands to common sense. If an immigrant is thinking of crossing the Channel, but they know they're going to get sent straight to Rwanda, they're not going to bother crossing in the first place. So a massive mistake by Labour to cancel that scheme. And all we get in its place are these extremely weak measures that are going to frankly make no difference whatsoever.
But that's the point, isn't it? That the flights never took off to Rwanda. We will never know if it was going to work because it never actually, quite literally, got off the ground. It was a huge expensive scheme. Robert Jenrick has even admitted that it would have been fruitless because you hadn't left the ECHR. Those flights would never have taken off and it never would have worked. There's no point describing it as some panacea to the illegal migration problem when it wasn't ever actually going to get off the ground.
Well, I mean, we had two sets of legal challenges, one in Strasbourg and one in the Supreme Court here in the UK, and we passed a bill, an Act of Parliament, that went through Parliament in the first half of this year that was designed to basically sort out those legal problems and enable that first flight to take off on July the 24th. And it was a huge mistake to cancel it. As I say, we passed a law, the Safety of Rwanda Act. It's on the statute book. You know, the monarch signed it. We were ready to go by July, but Labour cancelled it. Now, you say it's speculative that it would have worked. Now, we've seen a scheme like this work in Australia. Now, Australia had a problem about 10 years ago where illegal immigrants were crossing from Indonesia to Australia, and they had a similar plan where they removed people to Nauru, which is an island in the Pacific, and they didn't have to take many people there before the deterrent effect meant that the illegal immigrants simply stopped attempting to cross to Australia. Why would you try and cross if you're just going to end up on an island in the middle of the Pacific? And it worked very, very quickly. So we do know these schemes worked, and it was a horrendous mistake of Labour to cancel it, and it is on them that illegal immigration across the Channel has gone up 29% since the election, whereas last year, 2023, we actually got it down by a third, and that was without Rwanda. Had Rwanda started, it would have gone down, I think, even more. In Australia, it went down to zero.
Part of the issue is, though, I mean, because it's all well and good from the opposition benches decrying what the government's doing, but of course immigration, and we now know sort of net migration jumped to 900,000 in a year, which under the Tory government, of course. The ECHR is going to prove to be a problem when it comes to removals, and yet your leader isn't convinced that we should be leaving the ECHR. She says, you know, we need to wait and see. So it does beg a question, does the opposition have a real plan?
Yeah, so look, there were mistakes made in government previously, and Kemi and I have openly acknowledged that. That number, which was a couple of years ago, was far, far too high. So we gave a speech a few weeks ago saying that we're going to have a hard cap, which is going to be at a much, much lower number than that, because that is far, far too high, completely unacceptable. That should never have been allowed to happen, and it was a Conservative government, and that was a mistake. And that's why we're going to have a hard cap in the future, so that can never, ever happen again. Now, the numbers were coming down after that because we made some changes about a year ago. Argued that those changes were made too late, but they were changes that we made in government. We started to get the numbers down. The number of visas, which are a leading indicator, have gone down even more. So the health and social care visas down 84%, student dependents also down 84%, work visas down 28%. So those measures begun to kick in, but we do need to do more, and that's why we proposed a hard cap. On the ECHR, that is absolutely under review. We are prepared, if necessary, to come out of it. We're reviewing it very carefully. What we're not going to do is make sort of simple, off-the-cuff commitments without having thought them through properly. So we are reviewing all of this in detail so we can come up with a credible plan that your viewers and the public and the media can scrutinise in due course, and so people will know that it is going to work and that we are serious. We're not just going to say stuff off the cuff without thinking it through properly first. We've seen the Labour government make that mistake where they've got into all kinds of difficulty in government because they didn't do the thinking in opposition. That's why things are going so badly wrong for Labour. We're not going to make that mistake.
No, you've admitted that you've made mistakes whilst you were in government. You're now pointing out what you say are the mistakes of the Labour government now. I mean, all of this is fuelling the rise of reform, isn't it? What are you going to do about the threat of reform?
Well, look, I think, first of all, we saw at the general election last July that, unfortunately, where people vote reform, it just delivers a Labour landslide, unfortunately. And, you know, we saw that happen where people who ordinarily vote Conservative, voted reform. I understand why that happened, and we're going to work hard to fix the issues that we've talked about already. But where people who are conservatively minded vote reform, it just delivers Labour in government. We've also seen since the election about 150 council by-elections, and the Conservatives have made, I think, about 24 gains. Labour have lost 27 seats. Reform have only won an extra, I think it's 5 or 6. So we can see, that since the election, we have been doing very well in these council by-elections. And the final point comes back to what I said a minute ago, that we are working up serious and credible plans, not just on immigration, but on all kinds of other areas as well, taxation, the economy, the cost of living, really serious and credible plans to fix the problems that our nation faces, whereas Reform, I think, just tend to sort of say stuff off the cuff without kind of properly thinking it through. We are going to do the proper thinking so that when we come to the next election, we've got proper, detailed, credible plans that we can stand behind and implement on day one if we get back into government. So those are the reasons why we're, fighting so hard now in opposition.
Chris Philp, can we ask you about what's happened stateside? We've got this incident and 1 dead and a number injured in Vegas, and of course the situation in New Orleans, 30 injured, 15 dead, that we know of so far in what appears to be an ISIS-related terror attack. It raises some very real questions, doesn't it, as to what's happening over here in the UK, because it's got to put the security services on high alert now, hasn't it?
Yes, it certainly does. And look, we should just start by, I think, keeping the victims and their families in our thoughts and our prayers. The new year is a time to look forward to the future, a time of hope and a time of expectation. But for those victims and their families, that hope and expectation that a new year brings has been cruelly cut short by what appears to be a vicious terrorist attack by someone who was apparently motivated by essentially Islamist motives. President Biden has said he'd been viewing ISIS or Daesh material online. He had a Daesh flag in his car. So we should, I think, keep those victims in our minds this morning. But yes, you raised a good question. Our security services over the last few years have disrupted a large number of terrorist plots here in the UK, and I think we should be thankful that counter-terrorism policing, MI5 and the security services more widely have done that work keeping us safe. The majority of those plots have been Islamist in nature. So it does mean, I think, our security services do need to step up and redouble the efforts they've been making so far, but also all of us in the community need to be very vigilant, and everybody in society, and I stress everybody, that comes across any sort of information which suggests an individual or a group may be getting radicalised, need to report it immediately to the police. Doesn't matter, who it is or what it is, they need to report it straight away, because we need everybody in the public to be supporting counter-terrorism policing and the security services in the work they are doing to keep us safe.
Absolutely. Chris Philp, really good to talk to you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, at 15 minutes past 8, let's have a look at the weather with Marco.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. The next few days are looking pretty chilly across the UK. There'll be some sunshine around, but equally some wintry hazards to contend with as well. Low pressure is now starting to pull away from the east of the UK, and that's allowing that northerly airstream to become established. So as we go through the day today, plenty of sunshine, certainly for inland areas, but showers also moving down in that north to northwesterly breeze, particularly across northern Scotland into parts of Northern Ireland, a few in through the Irish Sea and down some eastern coasts of England as well. So the best of the sunshine into the afternoon, reserved for those central and southern spots across inland areas, but notice wherever you are, despite the sunshine, it's going to be pretty chilly. Temperatures no higher than 6 or 7 Celsius, that's the low 40s in Fahrenheit. As we go through the evening then into the overnight period, we hold on to further showers moving in there across the north of Scotland. So to end the day on Thursday, there will be more showers to contend with across the north and northwest of Scotland there. Southern parts of Scotland mostly fine, but turning very chilly, a frost reforming quite quickly here. A few showers into parts of Northern Ireland, but again, southern parts of the province escaping those and turning quite frosty. And turning frosty with some icy patches in places too across parts of England and Wales. Showers mainly, again, reserved for western areas and down the North Sea coast. As we go into the overnight period, the showers will tend to become more widespread from the north and northwest, particularly across the north of the UK. Plenty of the sleet and snow showers pushing their way in across Scotland, into Northern Ireland, eventually parts of northern England. Elsewhere, the blue colours indicating a widespread frost, and icy patches are possible pretty much across the UK. Temperatures plummeting below freezing, certainly in towns and cities, and much lower than that in several spots as well. As for Friday, well, it's a day of sunshine and showers. The showers, once again, wintry in nature, a mixture of sleet and snow in places, and becoming fairly widespread, particularly towards the north and northwest, with southern and southeastern parts of the UK, again, seeing the best of the lingering sunshine. Wherever you are, it's pretty chilly, temperatures no better than mid-single figures, and feeling colder out and about, particularly in that north to northwesterly breeze. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye for now.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, if you didn't get everything on your Christmas list that you wanted, how about £50,000 in tax-free cash this new year? That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Would be very nice, and it could all be yours in our biggest ever Great British giveaway. Here are the details.
There's still plenty of time to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize ever, an incredible £50,000. What would you spend £50,000 on in the coming year? Spectacular holidays, a brand new car, home improvements, or maybe you'd just like to save it for a special occasion? For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight. Every night from 11 p.m.
The Daily Mail now, Josh, and pub landlords have to worry about more than the optics when it comes to offensive banter,
Yeah,
it
this
seems.
is a really big story and important. Pub landlords could have to become banter cops to stop themselves being sued by staff offended by comments from customers under workers' rights reform. So, Labour, when they were part of their election process, they were like, we're going to reform workers' rights, and that all sounds good on paper, but there were issues in terms of how might it affect employees and fear from employees costing them more money. One of these things that they're sort of pushing through, though, is that in the Equality Act of 2010, part of the issue was that if you were offended at work or someone said something sexist or racist, something that affected you, the employer had to take some sort of, they had three chances to kind of take action.
Yeah.
Now, the employer should have taken action already. So employees can sue employers. Now, this has a big impact on us because we're comics and we perform in venues. And if some of the bar staff hear a joke that they don't like, then they can sue their employer, potentially, under this legislation.
So it's not punters?
Well, also, it could be like you're at a bar and some bloke is like, oh, I like that top, Berlin, or whatever. That's not good behaviour. But the point is now that employee could sue their employer.
So, because, I mean, the sort of scenario I was imagining was that a barmaid was being maybe sexually harassed or
That's
something.
what they're focusing in this article, but other articles have gone down the free speech route. Okay. And also venues and universities having lectures. We saw it at, in Edinburgh Fringe Festival and Sadowitz. He had a show cancelled not because of any punters, but because two of the 18-year-olds were working. They were upset by his
There was a
wedding.
bar in Brighton, wasn't there? There was a story we covered a few weeks ago. A bar in Brighton threw some people out because...
exactly. They had turfs on the...
turfs. Yeah.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's 8:22 now. As you know, America is starting the year mourning 15 dead after a car rammed into New Year revellers in New Orleans.
Well, the FBI has named the main suspect as US citizen Samsud Din Jabbar, who previously served in the US Army.
They've also said an Islamic State flag was found in the vehicle and they're investigating it as an act of terrorism.
Well, President Biden addressed a press conference overnight.
The FBI has reported to me the killer was an American citizen, born in Texas. He served in the United States Army on active duty for many years. He also served in the Army Reserve until a few years ago. The FBI also reported to me that mere hours before the attack, he posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill, The ISIS flag was found in his vehicle, which he rented to conduct this attack.
Well, here the Prime Minister issued a statement saying the shockingly violent attack in New Orleans is horrific. My thoughts are with the victims, their families, the emergency responders and the people of the United States at this tragic time.
Well, meanwhile, in Las Vegas, one person's died and 7 people were injured after a Tesla Cybertruck exploded outside Trump's Las Vegas hotel. Authorities are investigating whether the 2 instances are linked.
Well, in response to both events, President-elect Trump posted on Truth Social saying our country is a disaster, a laughingstock all over the world. This is what happens when you have open borders.
He ended with, only strength and powerful leadership will stop it. See you on January the 20th.
Let's talk to Chairman for Republican Overseas UK, Greg Swenson, who's here. Good to see you, Greg. I mean, this is an awful situation, and obviously it raises a couple of issues, because you've got the primary incidents, particularly New Orleans, and the tragedy for the individuals, the families, the city. Yeah. But also you've got the bigger political picture here, which President Trump is also addressing.
Yeah, I think it's hard to connect illegal migrants to the New Orleans incident because it turns out he was an American citizen. But there was some confusion yesterday. The truck was on record of crossing the border from Mexico to the United States a couple of months ago. So, you know, it sort of looked like it could potentially be another one. But remember, this is in the context of the New York subway homicide last week, arson and homicide, which completely horrific. And that was an illegal migrant. And then you had going back to the University of Georgia with Laken Riley, the nursing student who was killed by an illegal. And it's a bigger picture than that even. It's not just that they're illegal migrants committing these horrific crimes, but also they're on record for being arrested and released by these Soros-backed DAs. So yesterday, while not directly related to the migrant problem, it just exposes the fact that crime is elevated in the U.S., the complete chaos in cities, big cities, especially in blue states and Democrat-run states, explaining another indicator of why people are moving out of blue states into red states. People vote with their feet, and I think we're going to see that here in the United Kingdom as well.
There's a whole other issue that we're facing here in the sense that the suspect, it looks as though he was a homegrown terrorist.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, we've seen this in the United States before. The Boston Marathon bombers, they were immigrants, but they were definitely American homegrown criminals. And so several incidents, San Bernardino, Fort Hood in 2009, all American citizens, but were radicalized by radical Islam. And so, this is something that's, it's not the first time. We obviously hate to see it. 15 people innocent people have died. It's just absolutely tragic. But I do think that this is something that's not going away anytime soon.
I mean, it begs a question about the intelligence services in the US, doesn't it? Because although it's very, very hard to stop what they call a lone wolf attacker, but the indication here seems to be, the message that we're getting is it could have been part of a cell.
Right.
Now, it's impossible to stop everything, we know, but there must have been some chatter around this.
There was. In fact, there were some of the pro-Hamas media around the world was encouraging people around the world to execute attacks on New Year's Eve. And so it shouldn't have been a major surprise. There was a little bit of violence in Brussels on New Year's Eve, 2 incidents in the U.S. So, you know, I would hope the FBI was on alert about that. And this has been going on for years, but they especially like New Year's Eve because I think of, you know, it's considered a time of celebrating and partying. And so, you know, look, I think hopefully the silver lining here is that the security services in the U.S. will be elevated, will pay more attention. Instead of focusing on domestic terrorists, which are parents that go to school board meetings expressing their disappointment with what's being taught in schools, you know, simple things like that, following Catholics around who are potentially pro-life protesters. You know, these things are a complete distraction. When Joe Biden's on, you know, making speeches about white nationalism is the biggest security risk that we have in America, that's just not true. So let's just be honest about what the risks are, and that might be something that we see more of now that we've had an incident again.
Huge challenge then for incoming President Donald Trump in terms of Islamic State. I mean, the West believes that they were crushed.
Yeah.
But this would suggest
Yeah,
that ideology hasn't been crushed.
Absolutely. I mean, he you know, the Trump administration did a really effective job in his first term of eliminating ISIS for the most part. But, you know, we've had 4 years of Biden where there's not the deterrence that you had in the Trump years. And you've also had, you know, all the changes in Syria as well. So there's a potential, you know, and then, of course, Afghanistan, where, you know, prior to 2021, at least the U.S. and the U.K. had forces on the ground, could pay attention a bit more to the intelligence. You know, or have ears on the ground. And so, look, you know, things change, and I wouldn't blame all of this on any administration. But I don't think this changes what President Trump was planning on doing. He's coming back as a law and order president. The crime in big cities in America is out of control, and I think that this will perhaps strengthen his resolve a little bit, but I don't think it changes what he was planning on doing anyway.
OK, Greg, we're going to speak to you a little bit later on, but for now, thanks very much indeed. Good to be here.
Thank you both.
Well, let's speak now to GB News political correspondent Catherine Forster, who joins us now. Good to see you this morning, Catherine. And we just heard, didn't we, from Sir Keir Starmer, a little bit of that statement there, talking about how shocking it is, how horrific it is. But there must also be genuine concern about the threat, if this is to do with ISIS and inspired by ISIS, that we'd see some sort of copycat event here.
Yes, absolutely. Good morning, both. The Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, is still on holiday in Madeira, but he did post on X last night that message saying about the shockingly violent attack in New Orleans is horrific. My thoughts are with the victims, their families, and emergency responders and the people of the US at this tragic time. The Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, has also spoken about it, pointing out that there are consular officials on hand in the US for any British nationals who may be affected. And yes, of course, the worry is if it can happen in the States, if it can happen in Germany. Of course, the Christmas attack in Germany, we don't entirely know the motive of that. But these terrible atrocities can happen here. And the fundamental difficulty is that for all the work that the security services do and all the terrorist plots that they stop, it's incredibly difficult if somebody wants to use a vehicle as a deadly weapon and mow down people in a crowded area. How on earth do you prevent that? Now, we've seen, of course, haven't we, bollards being put up in many places. We know in the German Christmas market, One of them was down. That allowed that attack to go ahead. We know in the case of New Orleans, apparently bollards that would normally have been there had been removed, but there was some repair work going on. But you can't put bollards around every place where a large number of people congregate. So I think there will be real worry. We're only on the 2nd of January and it's had this most horrendous start. And of course, from the Conservatives, we've had Chris Philp, the Shadow Home Office Minister, talking a little bit earlier. And he was basically asking people to do their bit, saying, look, if you feel that you know somebody that you think is being radicalised, you need to report them to police. Everybody needs to do their bit. He was also keen to point out all the work that the security services do that we simply don't know about that helps to keep us safe most of the time.
OK, Catherine, thanks very much indeed. And it's a very apt message, I think, that we all need to do our bit. Just stay on alert.
Yeah.
Be aware of where you are and what's going on around you.
Be vigilant, yeah, absolutely. Do stay with us. Still to come, Paul Coit is here with all your sport. That's next.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. Train services in Scotland are suspended between Inverness and Wick, Thurso and Perth, and also between Mallaig and Oban because of poor weather conditions. In Murray, the A939 is closed each way between Cockbridge and Tomintoul, and Cairngorms because of snow. In Tyne and Wear, the A189 is closed each way between Dudley and the Findus roundabout at Westmoor because of a burst water main. In North Yorkshire, the A59 is closed each way at Blubberhouses because of a landslip. The Port of Holyhead remains closed for repairs, with sailings still suspended between Holyhead and Dublin. Train services are suspended between Llandudno Junction and Blaenau Festiniog because of a fallen tree on the line. And on the M4 in Newport, there's a lane closed westbound, along with the westbound exit slip road at junction 25 at Caerleon because of a medical emergency causing queues. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Lee Anderson's Real World, Fridays from 7 p.m.
Last orders at the bar, and I'm joined by Geordie Shore star Ricky Guanaccio. Have I said that right? Is that Italian?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Italian? Your parents
Well
Italian?
done.
Is it?
Pronunciation was pretty much perfect.
Yeah, well, there you go. So, look, mate, Geordie Shore, I've never watched it, mate, so I do apologise about that. But I know these reality TV shows are making big stars out of the people, making you famous, making you loads of money. Is it worth it?
For me personally, yeah. It's been a hell of a career. Been a hell of a lot of fun doing it. Ups and downs, but first and foremost, money-wise, yeah.
That's good. So people stopping in the street, you being famous, wanting the autograph and all. How do you cope with that, Ricky?
Well, when we first started doing the show, I mean, we got our show off the back of Jersey Shore in America. We never expected the fame that we got, and being one of the biggest reality TV shows in the UK and now the world. It's in 150 odd countries worldwide. Wow. It's pretty crazy. It's when you're living in houses. I mean, for example, Geordie Shore and Love Island's probably the same as well. When you're living in villas and you're living in houses, the argument side sort of plays on your mind. You've got to deal with all that. It's a hard place to be. It's a pressure cooker.
You're living in one of these villas, Ricky, or one of these houses. Do you ever wake up one morning and think, what am I doing here?
When I first started, yes. Yeah. Now, I love it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't mind all the, there's no emotion connecting me now with filming. It's kind of like I go in there, it's fun, or it's, it's dramatic, whatever it may be.
Have you ever worked behind a bar?
No.
No?
Yeah, for not a long period of time. My mum and dad had a...
Well, I can
definitely messed this one up.
Yeah, I can actually believe that you've never worked behind a bar.
Yeah, so my parents sacked us when I worked in the restaurant.
Well, obviously, I mean, you wouldn't get a job here with a pint like that, would you?
Do you want it?
No, mate, no.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Thank you, Britain.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for subscribing.
Thank you for your support.
It's you that make us the People's Channel.
As we reflect on our journey so far, we're filled with immense gratitude.
You mean the world to us. We couldn't have reached this point without you.
As a very special thank you, we are giving you the chance to win one of 50 GB News thank you boxes. They're worth £50 each.
For full terms and conditions, and to enter, just go to gbnews.com/thank you.
Right, at 8:36, time for the very latest sports news. Mr. Paul Coit is here. Good morning to you, sir.
180!
Oh, yes.
I love all that. I do, I love it.
You love darts.
140. Yeah.
Just I'm always impressed by the maths.
Oh, yeah.
Because I couldn't do the mental arithmetic as quick as they do.
That's part of it, though. You know, they say, oh, we need 57. Well, 57 is probably easy. But then they just know it straight away. They just know all the formulas, and then they know exactly what to go for. So, yeah, it's very impressive.
You can't be stupid and do darts.
You can't be stupid and do darts. You can't just be, like, good at English and bad at maths. You just don't stand a hope. No. And then you sit there, you've got the markers, they're writing down the scores at the same time. And then you've obviously got to call the scores. It's all very... And then it's actually playing the darts. It's a tricky old business. But I love the darts, and it's just really enjoyable. And the quarterfinals happened yesterday, the World Darts Championship, happening at the Ali Pali, of course, which is just a sellout. You can't get tickets for love nor money. If you want to go next year, you have to look out during the summer, because that's when the tickets become available.
Can you buy them, or is it a ballot?
No, I think you can buy them, but you have to go through the ballot, I believe, to get them. But they sold out literally in minutes.
It's like Glastonbury.
Year. Yeah, it is.
Only better.
It's like Glastonbury, but with arrows. That's what it is. It's all the music is there, all the excitement is there.
Costumes.
No mud, no rain, all indoors. But
so how's Mr. Littler getting on?
Mr. Littler is doing very well. Young Master Littler, we should say, shouldn't we? He beat Nathan Aspinall 5-2, did very well yesterday. So the semi-final, or the semi-finals are today, and then we've got the final tomorrow. So Chris Dobie, who looked like he was going to have a little wobble. Yesterday, he will be playing Michael van Gerwen. The Green
He's a legend.
Machine.
I mean, he's a legend.
He is, two-time winner. Luke Littler then plays Stephen Bunting. So there's going to be some good games. And there we are. There's Michael MVG, Michael van Gerwen there. So I think the money's going to be on Littler MVG, isn't it? In the final, do you think?
Oh, yeah. But I think that's a tough one to call.
Do you think?
Yeah, I do. I do. If that's what you have in a final... MVG's got so much experience.
The thing is with Littler, he just shows no sign of nerves.
Raw talent.
It's raw talent. And you've got to have something else there. You know, you can't. It was like Chris Dobie yesterday. Towards the end, you're thinking, oh, now he's worrying about the doubles, because last year he was 4-0 up. And then lost 5-4 at a similar point in the quarterfinals. And you think, and there's a lot that plays with your head. That's when you see it when they're going for doubles. And then it's like, as what they always say, trebles for show, doubles for dough. That's what it's all about.
Oh, very good.
Arsenal beat Brentford 3-1 in the football.
Right.
Yesterday, Brentford had been very good at home.
Let's just gloss over that, should we?
Anyway, Arsenal looking very good.
Yeah.
But not as good as Liverpool are at the moment. Talking of which, Trent Alexander-Arnold...
Yeah, is he going to go then?
At first I was thinking yesterday, no, surely you want me to leave Liverpool. But when Real Madrid come knocking, that's when you kind of think... It's going to be like 100 million quid he's going to be earning from it.
What do you make of all this? Because he's in the papers today saying, oh, well, he's been spotted in Venice with his girlfriend. Is that holding a map of Venice?
Venice in Spain? I don't think so.
No.
I know.
So why does that mean he's going to move?
I know, isn't it crazy? Yeah, he's in Venice, which is on the same continent as Spain, so therefore he may be going to Spain. It means nothing whatsoever, does it? I think it's because they say, well, how comes he's not with the team? Well, you've got Nottingham Forest, they're over in the Alps at the moment, going skiing. Whether they're actually allowed to ski, I very much doubt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I think what it is that right at the very end, if we're looking at the end of the season, that's when his contract runs down. Right. So he's on a free. Is he going to sign for Liverpool? Is he going to go? Is he going to go to Real Madrid? I think he probably will go to Real Madrid. Yeah. Because Liverpool could well win the title this year, and what a way to go.
You got any quick birthdays?
Yeah, of course I have. Yeah. Yep. First one, we've got a quick first birthday. A few sporting birthdays we have for you. Actually, I think we've got one sporting birthday and a couple of showbiz birthdays. First one, please. There we are. Francoise Pienaar.
Yes.
South African rugby captain, 1995, lifted the World Cup there.
54.
54?
I'm going to say 50.
Are you doing the math? Are you doing the math? Are you doing the darts math?
Go on, Ellie. We're running out of time.
57.
58.
Oh,
very good.
Very close.
Close.
Let's go again. Sort of sporting birthday, kind of, because the film Jerry Maguire was based around a sporting agent, and Cuba Gooding Jr., who won an Oscar for it, played the American footballer. So there we are. OK, so it's slightly tenuous, but how old is Cuba Gooding Jr. today?
Cuba Gooding Jr., I'm going to go 59.
15, so you're going in the same ballpark?
Same ballpark.
Which is sensible.
6.
Fair enough. In the ballpark. Stay in the ballpark.
Do you always give it hints?
5, 6.
7.
7.
And the final, last one.
Fair match.
Right, stone me, it's David Bailey. Do you remember the adverts, the Olympus trip adverts back in the day? David Bailey, one of the greatest photographers of all time. The Beatles and married to Gene Shrimpton and Catherine Deneuve. And
86.
86 for David Bailey. You are very good today, very good. It's not right, but it's very, very close.
Go on, Ellie.
Because you're
80.
David Bailey is
3.
87 today.
You're very good,
Great
Stephen.
David
On the money.
Bailey.
Yeah, he's a legend.
On the money.
Thank you very much indeed.
Nice to be back. Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New
We'll have
Year.
another go tomorrow.
We will. See you tomorrow. Right now, if you're fed up with this cold weather, how about a bit of winter sun? Here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
I hope it doesn't rain.
Don't worry about it.
It'll spoil our holiday.
Relax, we're totally covered.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, here's your latest winter sun forecast for GB News. Over the next few days, things will be turning more unsettled across southern parts of Europe. We'll see a few showers across the Canary Islands and Madeira on Friday, some sunshine too. Sunshine for southern parts of Spain, rain further north, and as we head into central and southeastern parts of Europe, much more in the way of unsettled weather here. Plenty of rain around, some snow on the hills, and temperatures will be struggling in places too. As for the next few days into the weekend and the start of next week, we hold on to that mixed theme, plenty of sunshine but further showers at times as well.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
The BBC has been branded jaw-achingly stupid, not by me, by the way, over its decision to cast black and ethnic minority actors in the historical drama of Wolf Hall. Now, is this a forward-thinking idea or nonsense? And are we rewriting history? Henry, I mean, the Tudors were real-life people. They were pretty much white.
Well, some of these shows depart so much from historical context anyway that maybe it doesn't make any difference. But I think just generally we've got a problem in this country with portraying history in its correct sense. You can't change history. And I think it's about the motivation. If the motivation is to sort of to some sort of, you know, to make a political point, then I think it's wrong.
What I find kind of tedious about people finding this instant jaw-droppingly stupid, Jesus was portrayed by somebody who's half Slovak and half Irish. Moses was portrayed in the Exodus by an Englishman. So, you know, same with Anne Boleyn, you know, was portrayed by Natalie Portman, who is Jewish. So if this is the one thing that's getting people angry, then there's something deeper within that rage, because I think Hollywood's been doing that, where people...
When you say something deeper, do you think there is a hidden racism and people are complaining about this?
Well, I think for some, maybe yes. I can't speak for everybody because this news dropped today. I don't know why they are thinking that it's egregious, but there absolutely must be some underlying racism if this is the only one that you're upset about.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, poll of the day at 8:46, and as 13,000 high street stores shut up shop last year, we're asking today, is it time the government did more to save the high street? You can scan the QR code on your screen if you're watching on TV. If you're on the radio, go to gbnews.com/poll, and we'll bring you the final result in Martin's show later on.
Now it's time to go through the papers this morning with former Special Advisor to Michael Gove, Charlie Rowley, and political commentator Andy Williams. Morning, you two.
Morning.
Andy, should we start with the unholy alliance, as it's been described in the Eye this morning?
Yeah, so Elon Musk and Donald Trump, they're obviously best buddies at the moment. They spent New Year's Eve together at Mar-a-Lago. I see Trump was doing his little YMCA dance again, and Elon was joining in.
He loves that song.
He does, doesn't he? It's his theme tune. So they're best friends now, and everything's lovely. But surely they're going to have this huge combustible fallout.
Why?
Well, they're two big alphas, aren't they?
Two big, gigantic alpha egos, and they both have a history of falling out with people, and they're also both used to getting their way all the time. And I think, you know, how long is Elon going to put up with not being the main man? He's used to being his own boss and always has been. So
well, yes, but
I think
when you're working for the President of the United States, you can't outdo the President.
Yeah, but Elon Musk runs how many companies that are worth billions and billions? He's the richest man in the world. I think it's a really fascinating relationship to watch. It's definitely not. It's not going to be dull. One thing I think is really interesting is that the number of people who Trump's appointed who are incredibly wealthy, 13 members of his cabinet are billionaires.
Yeah, but that's American politics for you.
Well, but even by the standards of American politics, the scale of and the number of wealthy, very, very, very ultra-wealthy people involved in Trump's administration it's sort of unprecedented, but really interesting.
Yeah.
How dare they be rich, Charlie?
Well, it is fascinating, because I think Elon sat in on a couple of interviews that the President-elect has been trying to recruit people around him, and so Elon is quite a central figure, it seems, to the setup.
Yeah.
But I think it's a new way of doing things. It's a new way of politics, of having people with experience in business and the private sector actually coming in to manage things. Maybe we should be taking a leaf out of their book and having someone, you know, people in business run government departments, or people with outside experience rather than career civil servants.
Oh, you sound like you're pitching for Reform UK.
No, I'm not.
Because but that's their argument, isn't it? That there's people with business experience bringing business know-how to politics.
Well, I think there's a reason why Reform are probably getting some sort of popularity. Well, they are getting popularity. They've got, you know, have you heard they've got over 150,000 members?
Yes, they have.
Did you miss that one over the Christmas break?
But, you can mock it all you like. They're getting support.
Well, they are, but I think that's not a bad idea. I think because, you know, people are tired with a bit of a broken system. When you hear the topics that we've been talking about today, take example, you know, immigration, and the Home Office is not fit for purpose. It's not been fit for purpose for decades by the sounds of things. So having people in to actually come on in and shake it up a bit, I don't think would be a bad thing.
Yeah. Charlie, let's have a look at the Telegraph, should we? Half of us think if we were burgled, for example, the police wouldn't turn up.
And it's that's absolutely right. That's what this research, which comes with a bit of a trigger warning, it's done by the Liberal Democrats, so I don't think they'd be pushing it out. I don't think they'd be pushing it out if it was good news. But I think it's a sentiment that most people share. You're absolutely right. 40% of people think if you're burgled, the police won't show up. 45%, sorry. 40% of people think that if you're assaulted, the police won't tend to your call at all. And I think there'll be many people hearing that this morning and resonating with that, because confidence in the police is at an all-time low. I'm a huge fan of the police. I think we've all got to be. They have a very, very difficult job to do. But I think, and you're seeing week after week, you know, people having mobile phones or devices snatched out of their hands in our high streets, or people shoplifting, going in brazen, bold as brass to sort of fill their pockets and trolleys and to just leave the supermarket and stores without even sort of batting an eyelid. You know, crime is up in this country, particularly in London. But, you know, that's OK. You can get awarded a knighthood, don't you know, if you oversee an uprising crime in London. But people will be sitting at home thinking that the police aren't there for them anymore. And that is a real problem.
That's the, I mean, I'm surprised at this, Andy, to be fair, because it would never occur to me the police wouldn't turn up But you'd expect them to take hours and not be able to do a lot when they get there.
Yeah, exactly. And Charlie mentioned 2 crimes, shoplifting and the theft of mobile phones, that are those crimes almost never end up in a conviction or really in any action being taken anymore. And I think that's part of that plays into this, if not mistrust, a feeling that the police are impotent, that there's nothing they can do.
But we get to this stupid point, don't we, where if your phone's nicked, you think, well, I need to ring up and get a crime number.
Crime reference number,
and then that's it.
Yeah.
You sort of give up. You don't think that anything else will happen.
And I think usually the police are pretty transparent when that happens. They say, look, we'll look into it, but there's kind of nothing we can do.
Anecdotally, our car was stolen off the drive a couple of months ago, and we rang the police up thinking they'd come round, and they gave us a crime reference number. And that was it. That was it.
Yes. And that was
That's all they could do, yeah.
Yes.
And it was a car on the drive, yeah. And it happens so... I mean, in my neighbourhood, it happens all the time. Cars are taken most nights where we live. And nothing is done, it seems. Just a crime reference number for your insurance.
Well, I won't be coming to your neighbourhood anytime soon.
Certainly don't park your car.
But with all the technology and, those Ringo doorbells, for example, where people can record things, or where you've got surveillance, where you've got evidence that you can pass on to the police to say, look, I've got it here.
Oh, we had all of that, yeah.
And they still aren't able to do anything.
No,
I think, police need to get their priorities straight.
Let's have a look at this in the Times, Andy, because the Prime Minister's on holiday, as we know. There was a toboggan ride on his holiday island with a 3-hour queue to which he was escorted to the front with his children.
He was. So Keir Starmer was on holiday in Madeira, and firstly, whatever you think of him, the man deserves a break. He hasn't had a holiday since he became PM, so I'm glad he's getting away and taking some time out. But, yeah, as we can see here, he arrived at this toboggan ride and the local police escorted his kids to the front of the queue for security reasons, which is completely understandable. He's the Prime Minister, but... it's just not a good look, is it? And it does rather play into that feeling that he's a bit aloof and, above the people.
It's like Phil and Holly all over again.
Oh, queue jumping.
Charlie, let's finish off with the Daily Star just very quickly with these dogs that nobody wants.
Yes, and these are dogs. Front Page Star, they're running a campaign. Dogs that have been amputees, obviously looking for a forever home. The Star is hoping that people will consider rehoming a dog that needs more love than maybe others at this time of year. And I think everybody should look into that story. Look at what the Star's offering. And
I think it's
heartbreaking.
I think it's a lovely thing to do. And actually, this sanctuary is in Slough, and it's called the Dogs Nobody Wants Sanctuary. And actually, you can go on Facebook and search for them under that name. And if you were interested in having a look at a dog and seeing if you're the right fit for that dog to give it a forever home, what a lovely thing to do for the new year, though, actually, to help out a dog that needs to see that extra bit of love and attention.
Yes, yeah. I mean, obviously, you've got to give the time and...
Oh, you've got to have the time.
But every dog, as the sanctuary says, every dog deserves...
A loving home.
Yeah,
they
there you
do.
go. All right, thank you both. It's been great to see you this morning.
Let's have a look at the weather now with Marco.
A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. The next few days are looking pretty chilly across the UK. There'll be some sunshine around, but equally some wintry hazards to contend with as well. Low pressure is now starting to pull away from the east of the UK, and that's allowing that northerly airstream to become established. So as we go through the day today, plenty of sunshine, certainly for inland areas, but showers also moving down in that north to northwesterly breeze, particularly across northern Scotland into parts of Northern Ireland, a few in through the Irish Sea and down some eastern coasts of England as well. So the best of sunshine into the afternoon, reserved for those central and southern spots across inland areas, but notice wherever you are, despite the sunshine, it's going to be pretty chilly. Temperatures no higher than 6 or 7 Celsius, that's the low 40s in Fahrenheit. As we go through the evening then into the overnight period, we hold on to further showers moving in there across the north of Scotland. So to end the day on Thursday, there will be more showers to contend with across the north and northwest of Scotland there. Southern parts of Scotland mostly fine, but turning very chilly, a frost reforming quite quickly here. A few showers into parts of Northern Ireland, but again, southern parts of the province escaping those and turning quite frosty. And turning frosty with some icy patches in places too across parts of England and Wales. Showers mainly, again, reserved for western areas and down the North Sea coasts. As we go into the overnight period, the showers will tend to become more widespread from the north and northwest, particularly across the north of the UK. Plenty of the sleet and snow showers pushing their way in across Scotland, into Northern Ireland, eventually parts of northern England. Elsewhere, the blue colours indicating a widespread frost, and icy patches are possible pretty much across the UK. Temperatures plummeting below freezing, certainly in towns and cities, and much lower than that in some rural spots as well. As for Friday, well, it's a day of sunshine and showers. The showers, once again, wintry in nature, a mixture of sleet and snow in places, and becoming fairly widespread, particularly towards the north and northwest, with southern and southeastern parts of the UK, again, seeing the best of the lingering sunshine. Wherever you are, it's pretty chilly, temperatures no better than mid-single figures, and feeling colder out and about, particularly in that north to northwesterly breeze. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye for now.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. Train services in Scotland are suspended between Inverness and Wick, Thurso and Perth, and also between Malling and Oban because of poor weather conditions. In Murray, the A939 is closed each way between Cockbridge and Tomintoul in the Cairngorms because of snow. In Tyne and Wear, the A189 is closed each way between Dudley and the Findus roundabout at Westmoor because of a burst water main. In North Yorkshire, the A59 is closed each way at Blubberhouses because of a landslip. The Port of Holyhead remains closed for repairs. Train services are suspended between Llandudno Junction and Blaenau Festiniog because of a fallen tree on the line. A number of roads across parts of the northwest of England remain closed because of flooding. In West Midlands, the A38 is closed eastbound along Kingsbury Road at Minworth after an accident. And on the M3 in Surrey, there's a lane closed on the northbound exit to the clockwise M25 after a car overturned causing queues.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
You could be joining the Great British Giveaway list of winners with your chance to grab a fantastic £50,000 in tax-free cash.
My name is Cliff. And my name is Julie. And we won $25,000. I'd say don't hesitate, do it. If you're not in it, you've got no chance of winning it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Thank you, Britain.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for subscribing.
Thank you for your support.
It's you that make us the People's Channel.
As we reflect on our journey so far, we're filled with immense gratitude.
You mean the world to us. We couldn't have reached this point without you.
As a very special thank you, we are giving you the chance to win one of 50 GB News thank you boxes. They're worth £50 each.
For full terms and conditions, and to enter, just go to gbnews.com/thank you.
Good morning to you. A tragic start to 2025 as a suspected terror attack strikes New Orleans.
Killing 15 people and injuring dozens as a primary suspect is identified as a US citizen and Army veteran, Shamsuddin Jabbar. But the FBI says it's possible he wasn't acting alone.
Well, President Biden shared some more details overnight.
For hours before the attack, he posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill.
Law enforcement investigate whether the explosion of a Tesla Cybertruck outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas could be linked to events in New Orleans.
Small boat migrant numbers rose by a quarter last year, so Labour's cracking the whip to try to make good on its promise to smash the gangs. But does it make any sense? Earlier, the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp, slammed the proposals.
The idea that telling a people smuggler they might get their mobile phone confiscated is going to make the slightest bit of difference is frankly fanciful.
The Sussexes storm into 2025 as Meghan Markle announces her return to social media in a post that's confusing some people.
Hello, good morning. We've got some cold weather in store across the UK over the next few days. Most of us will see some sunshine at times, but equally there'll be some frost, some ice and some snow to contend with as well. I'll have all the details later.
It's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello and this is GB News Breakfast.
I'm just wondering how many people are back to work today. I mean, we are,
I was wondering that. I'm going to say most people would start Monday.
I don't know. I've lost track because in this business you don't work normal days or anything anyway, do you? So are you heading back to work or have you got a few days off? My in-laws are all off to Legoland today.
Jealous.
Which is going to be lovely with little Ralph off to. He's been desperate to go for ages. So now that they're down south staying with us, they're going to have a day at Legoland.
Ah, I think that's a great idea.
I think that. So I'm missing out on that today to be with you.
Well, I appreciate you being here with me. Thank you.
But anyway, so stuff like that. So if you're squeezing the last bit out of the school holidays for your kids and doing some interesting things today, let us know. gbnews.com/yoursay. We'll spread a bit of love and joy this morning because the news itself is actually pretty depressing.
It is, because America is starting the year mourning 15 dead after a car rammed into New Year's Eve revellers in New Orleans.
Well, the FBI has named the main suspect as a US citizen, Samsud-Din Jabbar, who was previously in the US Army.
Well, they also said an Islamic State group flag was found in the vehicle and they're investigating the attack as an act of terrorism.
Well, President Biden addressed a press conference overnight.
The FBI has reported to me the killer was an American citizen, born in Texas. He served in the United States Army on active duty for many years. He also served in the Army Reserve until a few years ago. The FBI also reported to me that mere hours before the attack, he posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill. The ISIS flag was found in his vehicle, which he rented to conduct this attack.
Well, on the home front, Sir Keir Starmer issued the following statement, saying the shockingly violent attack in New Orleans is horrific. My thoughts are with the victims, their families, the emergency responders and the people of the United States at this tragic time.
Well, meanwhile, there was another incident in Las Vegas where one person died and 7 were injured. Now, that's after a Tesla Cybertruck exploded outside Trump's Las Vegas hotel, so there's clearly some political influence there. Authorities are investigating whether these two incidents are linked.
Well, in response to both events, the incoming president, Trump, posted on Truth Social saying our country is a disaster, a laughingstock all over the world. This is what happens when you have open borders.
He ended it by saying only strength and powerful leadership can stop this. See you on January the 20th.
Well, Chairman for Republicans Overseas UK, Greg Swenson, joins us in the studio now. Good morning to you, Greg.
Good morning.
And what a tragic start to 2025.
Yeah, tough way to start the year. And it's even somewhat worse today because yesterday was the whole shock of it. But today you're starting to see more information about the victims. And it's really sad because it was New Year's Eve, late at night or early morning. So as you'd assume, most of the victims are in their 20s. Many were there for the college football game that was scheduled last night. It's now being played this afternoon on Central Time. And so it's really sad to see the information coming out about these young people.
Yeah, honestly, it's heartbreaking, some of the pictures as well. And as you say, very young, just out having a good time. Nevertheless, I mean, the perpetrator here wasn't very old either. 42, formerly in the US military, and then worked as a realtor and a estate agent. And some of the videos that he'd posted online, it looks like a perfectly
nice
ordinary,
guy.
decent guy.
And
so what has gone wrong here?
Well, I mean, like many of the terror events in the U.S. in the last 15, 20 years, you know, he was radicalized. You know, the perpetrator in the Fort Hood, Texas terrorist event in 2009 was a U.S. Army doctor. He was a psychiatrist that had been trained at Walter Reed and had, you know, was very, very respectable, but was radicalized by, you know, by ISIS or Al Qaeda, and you know, you saw that with several of the terrorist events in the U.S. So, you know, they're homegrown on one hand, but they're obviously influenced. And he had an ISIS flag, and as you saw in the press conference from President Biden, he was, you know, bragging about his affiliation with ISIS on his Facebook post. So it's a sad story, but it's something that we have to be, you know, very, very conscious of here in the West.
Yeah, and we saw Trump there, obviously, when the details were still emerging. It wasn't clear exactly what we're dealing with this suspect, talking about open borders, talking about immigration, which is its own issue. But what it looks like here is homegrown terrorism.
Yeah, exactly. But I think if you just look at the general chaos that's especially in the big cities in the U.S., but crime is elevated in the U.S. and, you know, the homicide rate in New Orleans itself, as tragic as yesterday was, you know, the normal homicide rate in New Orleans is the highest in the U.S. It's 5 times the rate in Chicago, where I'm from. And so, you know, we've got problems with violence that's been elevated for the last 4 years, and so hopefully there'll be a return to law and order. And I think that's one of the reasons Trump won, is because people are frustrated with crime levels.
We don't know if the incidents in New Orleans and Las Vegas are linked, nor do we know. There's also been a drive-by shooting in New York.
Right.
That might be completely unrelated.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
No fatalities in that one, thankfully. But with Vegas, I mean, you can't help that. I mean, there are political parallels to that. It was a Tesla Cybertruck, so taking aim at Elon Musk, packed with fuel and some explosives, parked right outside a Trump hotel.
Right. Yeah, you'd have to draw that conclusion, and then coincidence, you know, perhaps, but both the Las Vegas and New Orleans event, the trucks or the cars were rented on the same car rental app. Which is a bit obscure. And it's around this. It was a few hours apart. Yeah, it's not you know, Hertz or something. Yeah. It's some kind of app startup. So look, you know, there could be a relationship. It could have been coordinated. I think I've also heard that both of the men served at the same Army base, and now that might not have been at the same time, so who knows? But you know, we'll learn a lot more in the next few days. But I do think that the fact that they occurred a few hours apart, you know, sounds suspicious, or you know, and I think a lot of these, there could have been copycats. Who knows? It's really early stage still, but you do hate to see the radicalization occurring in
well, we need to say the only fatality in that attack in Vegas was the driver. So we're yet to get proper clarification on who that was, aren't we? But I mean, obviously that could lead.
But it's similar to the Christmas market in Germany. I mean, you know, he'd been there for 20 years. It's not like he had just crossed the border last week.
But that's the challenge, isn't it? I mean, how do you prevent it? How do you police this if somebody wants to use a vehicle as a deadly weapon?
Yeah, I mean, some crimes are just going to be really difficult to stop completely. But I do think if you find it at an earlier stage, you know, there's evidence almost all the time that when you start to see the radical videos that they're watching, or even that they're participating in, I think there's just got to be an elevated emphasis on that. And it's, you know, whether it's...
forgive me, is that an FBI issue?
Yeah,
would that fall under the FBI remit?
I think in many ways, law enforcement in the U.S., especially at the federal level with the FBI and other parts of justice, you know, they've taken their eye off the ball. In the last few years, they're focused on on almost fabricated, you know, challenges or crises that are essentially not really crises. You know, they're calling parents at school board meetings domestic terrorists. You know, it's just a distraction. So I think focusing on, obviously, the biggest risk is terrorism, and that should be the focus, not not crimes of, freedom of, not, mean posts on social media,
Yeah, well, look, we're in a similar boat over here, aren't we? Just a final thought, just to let you go, and it is on an unrelated issue in a sense. We've had the news conference from President Biden overnight. I have to say, just watching it, you sort of think...
It's hard to watch.
Thank heavens the poor man is going into retirement, because he doesn't seem overly with it.
No, and he hasn't been, and you probably heard of the Wall Street Journal article 10 days ago that really exposed the cover-up that started in early 2021. This isn't just this year that he's had this cognitive decline. So it's not just the crime, it's the cover-up. The fact that he was completely incapable of serving as president and then had the gall to run for re-election, and yet it's the cover-up that's really disturbing, both by the White House and his inner circle, as well as the compliant media in the U.S. So there'll be books written about this.
Yeah, I'm sure. Greg, as always, it's really good to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, still to come, Dawn Newsom and Adam Cherry are going to be here telling us what's coming up in Britain's newsroom this morning.
I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Locals in Abingdon in Oxfordshire have signed a petition to keep the name of their local pub, and it's called The Midget. Now, this comes after a university lecturer led an 11-month campaign to change the name of the pub, and the owners, Green King, have caved in. But locals are fighting back, and GB News spoke to one resident, Leanne Thompson, for her thoughts earlier today.
I'm not feeling great about it, to be honest. It's a pub that's been here for a very long time. It's called The Midget after a MG car, and they're changing it to the Roaring Raindrop, which a lot of people are not happy about. We know why they're changing it, but a lady apparently came in who was very upset at the offensive term for the name midget. But nobody here sees it as an offensive term. You don't see the midget and feel any kind of offence towards that. It's named after a car. If she was to actually come, she might actually know more about it, but apparently she's not even been into the pub. She's just heard about it and broadcasted on social media that she wanted the name changed because it's offensive, which as locals don't feel that way. It's the midget. It will always be the midget. And if you look, it's even still on Midget Close. So I don't know if they're going to change it to the Roaring Raindrop Close.
Do you know, you should walk into the Midget now and go, do you serve shorts? And just keep going on the joke. It's named after a car, the MG Midget, that was manufactured in the town of Abingdon for a while. The car was released in 1961. The Boozer was built in 1974, giving huge pride to the area. It wasn't named after midgets, the Snow White and the 7 vertically challenged individuals variety. It's named after a car.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
$9.15. Now, if you didn't get everything you wanted at Christmas, A, how greedy, but B, how about 50 grand to ease the pain in the new year?
I think that really would ease the pain. I think that would really help you out. It's all up for grabs in the Great British Giveaway. Here are all the details that you need.
You could be joining the Great British Giveaway list of winners with your chance to grab a fantastic £50,000 in tax-free cash.
My name is Cliff. And my name is Julie. And we won 25,000. I'd say don't hesitate, do it. If you're not in it, you've got no chance of winning it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, best of luck to you. Now, if you're watching us rather than listening to us, we've got a special treat for you because we can show you this lovely video of a lady running on a beach. So you're not missing much if you're listening on the radio. It is literally a woman in white writing on the beach, writing 2025.
Yes, because that's the year we're in now.
Is it?
Yes,
Wow.
and it's because Meghan Markle returned to Instagram yesterday under the handle @Meghan.
Yeah.
I'd like to know where she got that from, actually. She would have paid a few bob for that, I imagine.
Well,
it was filmed by Prince Harry,
apparently.
this video, apparently. And she's returned to social media.
It's very useful if you don't know what year it is. Former world correspondent for The Sun, Charles Ray, joins us now. Are you inspired to remember the year, Charles?
Oh, Happy New Year to you too as well. I honestly haven't got a clue what she's doing now. You know, I would have thought we should have had the theme tune from Jaws as she was running down to the water there and everything else. I don't see the point of it unless, I mean, they're being quite hypocritical here because they came off social media because they were getting unparalleled abuse. I don't condone at all. It is not right whatsoever. And they've spent the last few years complaining about social media, again, with some justification, particularly the way it doesn't help children all that much. And Harry spent a lot of time saying, you know, spiteful things, nasty things about Facebook, which is owned by Meta, which also owns Instagram. So I don't quite understand where they're coming from. Is he ditching all this, you know, action towards social media? It's okay now for them to come back on it. This post is ridiculous. One post, and I'm with Ellie. How on earth did she get @Meghan as her so-called handle? It's a mystery.
Yeah, she's paid someone an awful lot of money to buy it off them, hasn't she? I mean. This is costing them a fortune.
Yeah, I mean, if that whoever the original Meghan was would be daft not to have seen a payday coming. And best of luck to them. Now she's had this dormant Instagram account, this @Meghan, for 2 or 3 years, and there's been hints of before that it was going to come out and do something sensational. I mean, if this is the sensational bit, then you know I'm not going to be losing any sleep checking Instagram.
Charles, what do you think we can read into this about what might be to come from Meghan Markle? Do you think she wants to become a full-time influencer? We've seen her before with her lifestyle blog, haven't we? Before she met Prince Harry, she was running a successful blog. Do you think she wants to go back to doing that sort of thing?
I think it's possible that that's what she wants to do. I mean, I don't understand how these things work, okay? But all I know is that certain influencers earn an awful lot of money from using Instagram and everything else. Now they're talking about figures. I mean, whether this is true or not, I've something like £790,000 she could earn per post. You know, so it's quite incredible what she could possibly earn out of this. It's interesting, though, Stephen and Ellie, that she's actually switched off all the comments on this one.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Clearly, she doesn't want to have anybody on there saying anything nasty or anything good about it. But it's another money-making exercise by them. And if they make money, fine. If they don't, well, it'll be another failure.
Yeah, but look, I mean, on the generous side to them, I mean, there are still plenty of people who are very fond of them. I mean, she's got best part of 700,000 followers already, and she's only just launched the site. So enough people like them for her to make money out of it. So I guess why not?
Well, are many of those people actually looking at the site to check on it every so often to see what she does so that they can criticise it or whatever? See, you're much nicer than I am, Stephen, about all this. I mean, I treat with caution everything that couple do. There has got to be a reason. They've got a plan somewhere or other, maybe a good plan or a bad plan, but it's a plan of some sort.
Oh, well, I'm sure. But I try to be charitable, Charles, you know, I try to be generous of spirit. It's hard work sometimes, but I try. It's really good to see you. Thanks very much indeed.
Thanks, Charles. Happy New Year. Well, I think at £790,000 a post, I can see why she's come back, can't you?
I'd be posting 100 things a day.
I'd be posting multiple times a day at that rate,
Oh, yeah. This is my favourite coffee.
Yes.
And all that sort of thing. Why not? Brilliant.
Why not?
I
Got a big
know.
security bill to pay, haven't they?
Well, I mean, what do they do? I am very cynical about it all, but there you go. They're doing what they do, and we just have to let them get on with it. Now, our poll of the day today, we're looking at the high street. Apparently 13,000 shops closed last year for good. So we've been asking, is it time for the government to do something to save the high street? Well, so far, 91% of you think so, 9% don't. We'll have the final result in Martin's show later, and if you want to take part, go to gbnews.com/poll.
Now, Britain's newsroom is coming up at 9:30. Dawn Neeson and Adam Cherry are here to tell us all about it. And Adam, a very happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much.
And Happy New Year.
What are you doing here on your birthday?
Yes.
Just delivering for the People's Channel, or trying to. We'll see how it goes.
Keeping me company, to be honest with you. Keeping an old woman very happy on a... What day is it? Thursday morning. I'd have found Meghan's video more useful. She'd written the day down rather than the year. I just about got a grasp on the year, but what actual day it is at the moment...
It's hard to get your head around it.
No, it's a very special day, actually.
It is a very, very special day, which is why His Lordship here is not doing Dry January. Bad boy.
Oh, can you imagine?
You can't with a January birthday.
No. I did think about doing February because it's the shortest month, and you know,
but then
I'm not doing that either.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah, well, at the moment I don't have to worry about that, but who knows?
Who knows?
There's still time, Adam.
Ellie, that's my argument.
Yeah. What have you got coming up on the show?
We have got some good news for you. We've got good news on the health front, which is, we're going to tell you more about that one. And we've also got good news for first-time home buyers as well.
Oh, really?
Yes, exactly. But you'll have to watch the show, Stephen.
Yes, that's it. Tune in.
That's a real tease.
Exactly. It's a proper tease, as we do here on this show. And what else we got coming up?
Well, of course, we are going to talk about the big stories of the day. We have to talk about what's happening in New Orleans. It's appalling. We'll be covering that in full. And talking about the people smuggling laws that are being introduced by the government. Is that going to work?
Oh, yes.
Switching off their phones.
Yeah.
Yes, basically. It's shutting down their social media accounts if they happen to be in the UK.
Yes.
Yeah. Which most of them won't.
When most of them are in Turkey, so good luck with that one. Yeah, so, I mean, is it all smoke and mirrors? Is the government talking big again and actually really not going to do anything else? And obviously, as far as the high street is concerned, all those people voting that the government should do more, are we all doing our bit as well?
Well, this is the thing. We were talking to a retail expert earlier on who just said, nothing you can do. It's a waste of time, the government doing more, because it's throwing money into a bottomless pit.
Yeah, we'll do that a lot. We do it at the NHS and
people
black
say
holes.
just
We have
evolution.
a lot of black holes.
Yeah. Well, it's our spending habits, isn't it? I mean, we're all buying online, aren't we?
Well, this is the problem, Ellie. I mean, I'm guilty as charged. My Christmas was literally delivered by, you know, various companies who deliver stuff.
But also what happens is they build these big retail parks out of town centres where everyone goes to.
Lots of viewers saying that.
Yeah, you know, you have some food there and then you never go to the high street.
Parking.
Parking is a big issue. Right, you two, lots happening in your show. We look forward to it. Thanks very much indeed.
That's it from us. Let's have a look at the weather.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. The next few days are looking pretty chilly across the UK. There'll be some sunshine around, but equally some wintry hazards to consider.